good evening, and welcome to the Soul Citizens. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and welcome back for another Sunday of fun entertainment with the Soul Citizens. The brothers are here tonight. We don't have any ladies here tonight, and we're missing one of the brothers. I'm thinking that he is like going to fly in any minute, maybe. We'll see. You can see there's a vacant spot on the screen. But hey, we're going to roll with what we got, and we got some powerhouses here. We got one of our coolest. The man who I've always said has just one of the most impressive voices out there in the Soul Citizen community. On the far left there, starting off with number one slot, the man himself, Dig That 32. What's up, Dig?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to talk about this.
Okay, I know this is your zone. I know. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why you and the brother next to me are here tonight, because you guys are going to end up being the experts for me, and if Kelosal makes it Kelosal, but you'll hopefully be the experts maybe even for some of the people in chat tonight. So I got to introduce our man number two right next to me, Dark Knight 75. What's up, DK?
Doing good. I'm excited about this show. This is one of those shows I've been eager to discuss with all of you, and it's nice to have Dig and Kelosal and you here. So this is great.
Yeah, I know you guys are ready to speak up on behalf of Mr. Braben tonight. So hopefully there'll be some good stuff. I think we're gonna have some good stuff to share. But before we get into that, let me say hi to everybody in the room. I see Pops in Space, Fist to Face, Admiral Kusanagi, Lucky. What's going on? Good to see all of you all here tonight. Y'all give some shout outs in there. Oh my God, Jajad, what's going on? Oh, and Jajad subscribe. He's kicking it off already with the subscriptions. Jajad, thank you so much. Jajad, you helping us get to our goal. As y'all can see, we had 127 out of 200 for this month. So thank you, Jajad, for that, as always, for supporting us and everybody who's here today. Let me kick it off before we get into the whole discussion about our topic tonight. Invictus just started 2 days ago. This is day number 3. Dig, have you had some time to run around the convention center yet, or have you been kind of holding off? Where you at right now as far as the Invictus launch week?
Oh yeah, I took a nice little stroll through Invictus.
Okay,
checked out everything.
Okay. DK, what about you? Did you spin through yet?
Absolutely. Went down, took a little walk around the Javelin, and went down and checked out the convention center. It was good. Good.
Okay.
Surprised by the stability.
Okay. All right. Cool. Now the big question is, and next show is on Invictus, guys. So just so you all know, we're not doing a big thing on Invictus today. I'm just kind of touching base because it just kicked off. But I got to ask Dig and I got to ask DK the big question. Did you buy a Scorpius? Were you one of the ones who passed on it, or were you one of the ones that got sucked into the Star Wars, the bell went off in your head and you saw X-Wing and you had to go ahead and get it? That's all I want to know. Dig's laughing, so he already know what I'm talking about. Dig, what'd you do? Did you pass or did you play?
I didn't make a move myself.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I found that one of my Patreons, he likes to be a mystery man, but he sent me a Scorpius. I wasn't expecting it, but man, I got one.
Nice.
You know what? I ain't gonna lie. I love that he did that. I appreciate that, but I'm a little now I have to look for it, and it's not gonna come till next year. But so now I got to be looking at it, like looking at this thing that I don't have yet for the next 8 months or whatever it comes to be.
I got you. Okay. Shipwreck. Thank you, Shipwreck. Thank you so much.
Shipwreck like a boss.
Backing us up as always. Thank you. We appreciate that. Ops Chief, good to see you, man. Saw you creep in there. Good to see you come in. DK, what about you? Did you pass or play when it came to the Scorpius?
No, I did not pull the trigger on that one. You know why? Because
Okay.
I'm not really a combat person, so it really didn't appeal to me. But the style does, and there's always that chance that I might just out of nostalgia pick one up. So there's always a possibility.
Okay. So you're thinking about it. Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you. Okay. This is what my statement was when I said this the other night when we were talking on Thursday. I said, soon as I saw this ship, I laughed. I literally laughed out loud and said, those idiots at CIG are geniuses, because they decided to pick, a shape that was so familiar to everybody who plays Star Citizen, right? and it immediately taps into the whole Star Wars thing as soon as you see it. Even though I'll give them credit, after looking at it in greater detail, it definitely reflects RSI design, particularly when it's in the wing closed position. It looks like an Aurora from above. So it's got like the same engines as the what's the ship? The one that's not the interdictor. Yeah, the interdictor. What's it called? The RSI. Y'all help me out in chat. What's that?
Mantis?
The Mantis. Yeah, it's got the Mantis engines on it when you look at it. So it's very cool design. Cool. Yeah, take a look at the brochure and look at the top down view of it when it's in the wing closed position. So I love the fact that they did kind of take some of those RSI features and really put it into that ship. But it has its own distinctive look. But again, that X-Wing, or I don't even call it X-Wings, Y-Wing, Delta Wing, whatever that wing configuration is, you can't help but think of Mr. George Lucas's creations from seeing that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So listen, you guys make sure you all check out Invictus when you get time. Did either you guys do the tour on the Javelin?
Yes.
You did.
I didn't sit and listen to the to NPCs, and I was thinking of going back and just really sitting down and listening to them.
Okay, Dig, what about you?
Oh yeah, I checked it out, and I ain't gonna lie, I know we ain't talking about Invictus, but good grief, man, there was this dude NPC like telling us about his experience on there, and I was like, dude, this is TMI. Like, I was like, this dude is saying all this stuff,
but
man.
They did that deliberately, right? And one of the things I thought that was really good about it, Dig, is since you mentioned that particular part, I looked at how good the animations were. I mean, that guy, it really looked good. They have stepped it up so much from the Morrow tour from years ago. And I like the fact that there was a little bit of, I guess you could say, Dig personality. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was just a stiff guy reading off his card. Right. He went on a whole tangent about the people on the ship and socks. And, but you know, it was cool. It was cool. I'll give it some things there. So anyway, we'll get into that. Jod, yeah, I see your question. Or your statement rather, and we're going to talk about that next week. So make sure you're here next Sunday, because we're going to go through the whole Invictus thing and talk about the design and anything else that might pop up that we're not expecting, because there are some other ships that are going to show up. As you guys know, today the Redeemer was there, and people were slobbering over that. And
what? At Invictus?
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. Okay, the Redeemer's it's on the floor. It's on the floor. It ain't flyable, but it's on the floor. And then tomorrow, or not 2 days from now, when they do Crusader, the A2 is also going to be on the floor. So we'll see if anything else pops up outside of those. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Homeroom, what's happening? 07 to you as well. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's get into the show. Let's see who's hitting me with a message here. Oh, that's Lucky. First told me in the second episode. Oh, thank you, Lucky. Awesome. Thank you for that. Awesome sauce. Okay. So let's jump into the subject of our show. You guys saw that the title this week of the show was Elite Dangerous, and it's not really like Elite Dangerous versus. It's really Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. Scorpion, thank you so much for that follow. We appreciate that. Thank you. Because what we want to do today is talk about these two games. Now, for most of you, I'm sure many of you are also Elite Dangerous players. So you've played Elite Dangerous. If you haven't played it, I know you've seen it if you're into space games. It's that and Star Citizen are probably the two, the most dominant games that are out there. You can talk about some other ones there, but those are the two that have been around for a little bit now. I was kind of blown away, Dig and DK. It didn't dawn on me. I went back and looked at my account and saw that I had signed up in 2014 in the beta. And I didn't realize that 7 years has passed that I had been playing the game. I've been off and on, but I usually jump in at some point a couple times a year. But I didn't realize that much development time has gone by. And I think it's because when it launched, it was kind of treated as a fully ready game. And so I kind of think the clock stopped in my head at launch. You know what I mean? But when you think about it, I think you said this earlier, DK, that they've just kind of taken different paths on how they're developing their game. So it is still a game in development, even though it's a fully playable game, which is like different than for Star Citizen. Dig, when did you start in Elite?
It's either maybe 2016, 2017.
Okay. And DK, what about you?
It was around 2017. Yeah, right about the same time that Dick started.
So I got you guys beat. I can't believe it. I thought you guys were in there since the alpha. I thought y'all was sitting at like breakfast with David Braben back in 2012. Okay, so all right, but that's cool. That's cool.
Breakfast with Braben.
Well, yeah, breakfast with Braben, right? Yeah, but you guys are into it deeper. You guys have gone into it. You've kept up with the development. You've come through the Horizons engineers, and now all the way through Odyssey. So you guys have a lot of information that are way ahead of me when it comes to playing Elite. Let me ask this quick question. I know we got some questions on the docket. There's been these major phases of the game: Elite Dangerous, then there was Odyssey, there was Horizons rather than there's Odyssey. What is your how are you feeling about the game now when it comes to the development? You're both avid Star Citizen players too, so you're kind of juggling these two big major games that are being developed. How do you see those two games right now? And I'll start with Dig on this question. Dig, how do you see those two games? Because you play both of them, you do videos on both of them. How do you distinguish them? Do you see them as very similar, very different, crossing each other? You know, as a player, what do you think about it?
I think they're very different. I think that they got different goals, and Elite is a more accessible game. They want to get you in, get you doing missions. They walk you through tutorials, and they just will like, look, you want to go shoot some stuff up, go shoot some stuff up. If you want to go walk around and do missions, let's do it. Star Citizen, on the other hand, is a little bit more. You got to be invested. Well, you got to be invested in both, but you got to invest in like, all right, we're going to do this, but all right, how do I put on my suit first? And like, I don't know, it's a little bit more involved, but once you got it, you're in there. You can just go. It's like if you played an FPS shooter before, if you played any kind of space game before, you're in there. Star Citizen, it's going to take some time, but once you get in there, the time is very worth it.
Okay. DK, same question. What about you? How do you see the two games?
I agree with Dig on that they are very different games. There are some slight similarities between the two in certain aspects of what types of gameplay you're doing, running passengers or trading or mining or whatever like that. But the level of involvement, like Dig said, it's a little bit deeper in Star Citizen than it is in Elite. And it makes it a little bit more approachable. But I got to say, when we were all getting started, there were no tutorials. You just jump in and go and pretty much learn how to blow your ship up at a station. You didn't learn, but it's definitely more involved in Star Citizen at this moment, and it's getting more involved at this time. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question. There's a statement that people often say to compare those two games, and I don't think they're derogatory. I think they just describe the states of the game. Some people will say that Elite is wide and shallow, Star Citizen is narrow and deep. Do you feel that that's a fair equation? Because both of you kind of equated Star Citizen as having deeper, more I don't know if to use the word detail, but it's more involved, I guess you could say. Do you guys agree with that, or do you think that's kind of a misnomer when people say that?
I'm sorry, man. Run it. If
some people, when they make comparisons of those two games, some people would say where Elite Dangerous is wide but shallow.
Oh, yeah.
But Star Citizen is narrow but deep. Do you think that that's a fair summation of those two games?
I think it's on the surface, yeah, that's a fair summation. Elite is super wide, but yeah, I hate to, because I don't like to bash, and I don't.
That's why I said it's not negative, right? No, it's not.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so wide. Like you're gonna be running from the first shore to the second shore. It's gonna take a long time to get to the other shore. But depth wise, yeah, it's a bit shallow. But yeah, I could definitely say that's fair.
Okay, DK, you're nodding your head. You kind of feel like a little bit of the same.
I do. I mean, I want to say that they're trying to bring more depth to Elite, but they're not quite there yet. They've got some ways to go, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, later once we start getting into development. But But yeah, there's definitely, it's wide, it's certainly wide. And it depends on your gameplay style too. I think a lot of explorers might say there's a lot to do, you know, but then you got your combat players who say, it's not so much, you know.
Okay, that's a good point. Good point. Okay, well, thank you. You guys gave us some good background in relation to it. Just so you all will know, what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at some videos that were been produced. One of them, the very first one we're watching here, started back in 2012. In fact, the first couple videos. One is David Braben talking about the development of Elite. And what I want you to listen for is to hear, when you listen to it, tell me if you don't hear David Braben say some of the exact same things that his good friend, and I will say good friend, Chris Roberts says about Star Citizen. So let's take a quick look at that, okay?
Hello, I'd like to start off by thanking everyone who's already pledged to Kickstarter. It's an amazing number of people who've already pledged, and to those who are watching, come and join us. We're already having fun with this project. It's going to be a great ride. We're very excited about it. This game has to be made. Now, what I want to talk about now is the plan for development, and also to sort of own up and discuss some of the things that we've not been discussing on the forums up to now. So, the first thing is this game has an absolutely amazing scope looking forward in time, and we've been looking at it and how we achieve it for a long time. It's a sort of game that terrifies the pants off publishers because the scope is so broad. But having said that, we're a long way down the line in achieving what we need to do, and we've got the foundations already, and what we're looking at now is how we build on them. So the idea with this is we've looked at the game, we've looked at what the game is that we need to be able to achieve what we want. We've also looked at where it can go after the first release. And that's what we've been talking about a lot. Now, one of the questions people have been asking a lot about, for example, is landing on planets. Now, yes, we're going to have landing on planets, but there is a lot of detail that's really important. So, for example, if you were to then have a follow-up question, what will be there when you land on the planet? That's what's been concerning us a lot. If you imagine every planet, when you get down to the surface, is just a differently coloured height map, that would be very, very disappointing, even with lovely atmospheric effects. What I want to see down on the planet is interesting things, cities, scapes, even animals, life, trees, being a big game hunter, all of the things that we've been very, very excited about for a long time, we want to be able to realise. And the amount of work to create those things is so huge. We want to do it properly. What's really important is we do each of these things really well. So that sort of thing will not be included on day one. We don't want it to be a dull experience where you just go down, you get essentially exactly the same experience wherever you land. So when we first release the game, you will not be able to go down to the planet's surface. Your ship won't be suitably equipped. We will show some sort of re-entry effect, but we won't be able to go all the way down to the planet's surface. But we have designed the game with that capability in mind going forward. And at a later date, we will gradually add more and more functionality to allow you to do that. The game richness will gradually increase. Another example that we've built into the structure of the game is ship interiors. Now, a lot of people you've seen that we're designing all the ships with the interiors in mind, how the cargo is unloaded, all of that sort of thing, how damage occurs. And that's because that another thing that we are doing again down the line is that you will be able to walk around inside your ship, you'll be able to get out of your ship, walk around inside space stations, other vehicles, all of that sort of thing. We've shown the damage on the ship, the damage models. Imagine looking at that from inside the ship outwards, seeing your cargo flying out into space, seeing the flames, trying to fight them. All of those things that we plan with time, they won't be at the first release because we want to do them right. We want to do them well. All of these will be done as updates, and I'll talk some more about that in a second, but the point really is that we want to do it well, but the game has to be structured in a way to allow it from the start. So we're designing the ships so that they work that way, and so that when we come to do it, it's not a problem. When we come to show all of these elements, walking around the ships, walking into other people's ships, potentially stealing them, we have got in mind all of the things, all of the gameplay, the really rich gameplay that entails. And it's To go back to what I've been saying right from the start of this Kickstarter, what is the game I want to play? This is the game I want to play, because actually, in many ways, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like a world that I'm being brought into. And with each of these subsequent updates, we expect that world will get richer and richer, and more of the things that we are excited about will be there. You will be able to walk around the spaceport. You will be able to see gold being loaded into someone else's ship. You will be able to sneak in and hide in amongst the cargo. All of those things are phenomenal gameplay opportunities, where that ship might actually be the ship of another player. So just think where that all ends. All of these things I think we need to do right. It would be very easy to do them very poorly, and that would be my fear. So these things will not be there at day one. What will be there at day one is a great game that we've already described, where all of those things, those fantastic things we were doing in Elite and Frontier that we love, will be there. It's just the things that we want to extend on, we want to extend on really well. We want them to be compelling. Now, I think they will be compelling, and that's what all the design discussion forums that we've already talked about, that are there at the different pledge levels are there for to do, to work out which we do first of these things. If you like, each of these are stretch goals, and one of the things that we're looking at doing is actually saying that they won't happen on day one, even if we hit the stretch goals, but they will happen with time, sometime after release. And these are other things that will be in the mix, including support for other platforms. We've already said that we very much like to go on other platforms like Macintosh, and there are others too, that are very exciting going forward. But I think the important thing for me is that we do each section of the game right. We do it in a way that doesn't cause problems for the players. We do it in a way that builds on what we've had before. And to me, that's what really matters in the game, that it is the game that we all want. And I think this is the way that we achieve that. This is what makes me really excited. It means that what can happen with all of these things is they can create unnecessary delays as well. We think, we can't go now because such and such a planet isn't right yet. What we can do, and I think is perfectly acceptable to do, is close off areas until we're happy that that's great. So there's another part of this plan, is we are planning to reserve, as a percentage, tiny areas of the galaxy for future expansion. We don't even know yet what we're going to put there, but it allows us to put whole new exciting things to be discovered at a later date. If you get there as an exploring player, what will happen is it will say, oh, you can't go here. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people that map these regions with time and produce maps of where there's a sort of a cutout that's been reserved for something exciting in the future. But ironically, that's all part of the excitement. We have that. We're planning for that now. And what we will do with time, as this game builds, as it becomes something that people want to spend a lot of time in, they'll say, well, that must be another race. What's going to be there? And of course, there will be a lot of gameplay that flows from that. These are the reasons that I want us to make this game. These are the reasons that make me very, very excited. A lot of people here have already part of this. A lot of the people here have pledged very, very generous amounts of money, and that is really, really appreciated. It's making this project possible. A lot of people are watching in the wings, are very, very excited about that too. Come and be a part of it. There will be lots of things. Being one of the original Kickstarters will be fantastic for you. We will all be together on the alpha and the beta. We'll all be part of this journey. Come and join us. It's going to be a really exciting ride. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, guys, I had my volume down. DK, I'm gonna start with you. What were your thoughts about what he described as his vision for Elite in comparison to, and I'm not only saying comparison to Star Citizen, just what were your feelings about that when you hear it all over again?
So that's one thing I want to do right now, is that in any discussion that I'm going to have of Elite is about Elite and not comparing it to Star Citizen unless it's absolutely necessary, because I really want to separate the games right now. Okay. As far as Elite goes, I think Braben's plans are coming somewhat. Like, we have seen the landing on planets as he discussed. We have seen the walking in a station as he discussed. There have been aspects that in previous development forums and discussions that things that they wanted to do that they have done. I wouldn't say that they're the best execution of that, but they've been working on doing that. And I the way that he was putting together the development plan is the way that he's been doing the development plan in stages. Whether or not those future things, such as the ship interiors, we don't know if that's something that can actually happen given the state of, the age of the engine. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, but will they do it? I don't know. But now, that is still on their plan.
Let me cut in for a second there, because something you raised was their engine. One thing I didn't know was that they created their own engine for Elite. I didn't know that. And so it is interesting that they kind of built from the ground up, from scratch. But oh my God, Uber Nerd. Uber Nerd, thank you for the raid. 132 of the nerds coming over. Welcome to Soul Citizens, guys. Uber Nerd, I hope you had a great stream. I popped in on you earlier when you were making some comparisons. Well, long story, but I watched you for a little bit before the show, and I hated to break off, but good to have you guys come by. The Uber Nerd himself, with 132 folks coming over. So guys, just so you all know what we're doing tonight, welcome again. Our show tonight is Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. Are they different or are they doppelgangers? And so we're kind of having this open conversation with
Scallywag.
Yeah, I know. I love that name. Scallywag. I know. Rap Scallywag. Not just Scallywag, Rap Scallywag. But we're talking about this. And so Dig That 32 and Dark Knight are kind of like our authorities on Elite Dangerous, even though they're avid Star Citizen players. And we're kind of going through a little bit of the history of, are these games, if they're different, how are they different? And if they're similar, how are they similar? So that's where we're at. So Dark Knight, you were talking about the fact that because one of the things that I've heard, and I was amazed, this over the past couple of weeks since Odyssey came out, I've been listening to a lot of the different shows, the forums and podcasts. And I was amazed at how many times I heard people say the word immersion. Sometimes Star Citizen people that think that they've got the lock on that name. But I mean, I was hearing Elite players talk about immersion and walking on my ship and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, I don't remember that talk, from back in the day. But it was amazing to hear that that's just as important to Elite players as it is to Star Citizen players, right? Even though David, and I was also in this speech, he talked about stuff that he wanted to see eventually come into the game, but he also said, you're not going to see this in the beginning, but we're going to try to leave room for even when, because I think on the making of video, and I took it out because I was going to show it, but one of the developers said, we may watch it still, but what she said was that we made sure that we left room for things, even like in the cockpit, just because in the future, there's some things we want to be able to do. So I'm glad they didn't realize they had built the game a certain way and said, oh my God, we didn't leave space to do blah, 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 blah. It seems like they want to, but like you said, the hurdle is going to be, how do they keep doing that in their engine? And it's always a hurdle for any development company, right? Okay. Dig, what about you? What did you think about hearing Braben's vision for the future?
I mean, I love what he said. I mean, he had a lot of ambitious ideas. And it's a big gap between ambition and what's possible. And I'm not saying the things that he's saying ain't possible, but I got to go back to what Dark Knight said, and you mentioned it too, is about the engine. I think it might be a little dated, and I don't know if they're flexible enough to, because Star Citizen, they went from they started with one engine, went to another engine,
Cry engine, and kept building on it.
And then do their own.
Yeah, I mean, if they're agile enough to be able to switch up like that, then yes, I would love to see it. But it sounds a little not far fetched, but it's gonna take a lot of work. But now I like how he but how he tried to set the right expectations with the promises that he made are going to take a long time to deliver this. They're not going to be there day one.
Right.
But with that, also have to Well, I also wish they had a roadmap. I think that's kind of the most frustrating thing for for Elite Dangerous players is there's no roadmap. So it's like, okay, we got this. So, but I mean, is this it, or is there more stuff coming? We don't know. We're in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Lunar Song, hi. Thank you so much for the follow. We appreciate that. So in a way, but again, we're not throwing any shade. We're just talking about what are the realities, right? So you are saying that if you guys had something to at least have an understanding of where they were in their development process, or even what their projected process is, that would kind of help folks within that community feel a little bit more like, okay, we see where they're going or where they're at. Because I tried to look up stuff and I couldn't find anything. And I thought maybe I just didn't know where to look. Something to kind of show where they were in there. Because I don't know. Here's the thing too, and Dig, you said something that's really important to us, because he opened up saying this, Chris opens up saying this, and I think that I wonder sometimes whether or not gamers have just gotten so used to the way the industry has operated. And I'm an old gamer, you guys know that I'm an old school gamer. Okay, I'm and I say that in a way with a badge of pride, but I also say it with a little bit of like I'm trying to keep up with what's going on. When they talk about being ambitious, what does that mean? Because a lot of times in the gaming community, when someone says ambitious, it's almost like cynical. You know what I'm saying? Like in the early days, you wanted developers to be ambitious. You wanted them to go for something that nobody had ever seen before, something different. Now it seems like when people say ambitious, it's like, and maybe it's because gamers have gotten burned. I mean, Dig, do you think that maybe is what the case is? Because, so many developers have gone on Steam and said, this is the most ambitious game. It's going to change the way gaming is done. You know what I mean? And then it doesn't deliver. Is that one of the reasons why people have kind of got salty about that word ambitious?
Possibly. I mean, as gamers, we want everything right now, But yeah, possibly, because like I'll put it like this. I got a buddy named he's Commander Blackout. I met him from Elite Dangerous, which I made a lot of friends from there. Anyway, he bought into this game that it was basically like you can build a whole city from scratch, and as a Kickstarter, and then they went under. Nothing happened with that, and so yeah, I can see stuff like that that will make people salty. But ambitious, it shouldn't be a negative thing. Like to me, I think that's a compliment. Like, I love your ambition. Like that's some of the things that's one of the things I say to people. I love your ambition. As long as you put the work behind it, it's good. But yeah, I can see that people have got burned and they're like, yeah, you're a little ambitious now. Yeah. And that becoming a negative thing. So yeah, I can see where they're coming from.
And DK, let me ask you this. Does it become a problem when you're a visionary? Because I want to make a distinction between Braben and Chris Roberts versus, there aren't too many people where you hear a name and you associate it to a game. You know what I'm saying? We may talk about EA, or we may talk about, a company name, right? We may do that all the time, but Bethesda, but being. And I guess here's the problem I have. People who are visionary don't think on the same plane as other folks. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying they think it in another space. And so quite often us regular folks think with limitations where they think beyond limitations, right? But they also could be,
that's a good point.
But it could also be, it could be, there's a difference between it being a dream and being a nightmare too. Maybe they're thinking too big. You know what I mean? Maybe what they're thinking about is, I think about people like a James Cameron, right? He wants to do Avatar, and he says, I wasn't going to do Avatar until the technology was available. Chris Roberts kind of says the same thing about Star Citizen, until the technology is there. But at the same time, they get in there and realize, those of you who know the history of Star Wars, right? When George Lucas would come and talk to his staff and say, this is what I want to do, this is what we're going to do, they'd end the meeting and then walk away, say, how do we do this? The technology is not even there. We got to create the technology. We got to make what this cat just told us he wants to see happen. And so I kind of wonder, when you have a company that operates at that level versus the companies who are just kind of churning out the, the regular stuff, right? They're not doing they're maybe doing a little bit of tweaking here and there, but they're not trying to be innovative. Is that something that our communities are wrestling with, both Elite and Star Citizen? What do you think, DK?
I think so. One of the notes I wrote down when I was watching that video was, is the scope too large? And it's the same thing on Star Citizen side too. Is the scope too large? And I think when we're talking about ambition, and we're talking about these two game developers, ambition is a completely different term because they're trying to do something that no other games have done and trying to do something that's outside of the box. And they're also not bound by their publishers. So not being bound by publishers, having this grand scope of what they would like to see puts them in this ambitious category. And a lot of us gamers didn't come from those kinds of things. I think even David had mentioned this in one of the interviews that we'll probably watch, that they want, 3 lives, start to finish in 10 minutes. That was the days back then. And now we're looking more at, pew, pew, grind, and get the best at the time. And that's just the way it is right now. And a lot of us aren't willing to wait. There's a lot of gamers aren't willing to wait for a project, these ambitious projects like this, because we're looking for gratification now, and their ambition is, it might take a long time. Chris Roberts said it. So did David Braben. It might take a long time, but this is what we want to do.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, when you mentioned about visionaries again, the fact that companies aren't trying to be visionaries. The publishers, you know what I mean? The publishers are there to produce a game, get it out there, get the money in for their investors. Being a visionary is not on the money sheet. You know what I'm saying? The money sheet is just being able to produce something, and that's it.
Right.
And so
they're looking for that ROI.
That's it. Yeah.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Right.
And I kind of wonder sometimes with gamers, and again, I get it because I think it's just been the attitude and climate of how games have been churned out over the last 15 to 20 years that we've kind of forgotten what it's like to have an innovation in gaming. You know what I mean? And it's been
so true.
It's been wild, so that might be it. Okay, so we got a couple good comments in here. Zip Splat says visionaries to production versus capitalizing on the production of visionaries. Interesting. Kita, one thing to remember that the ED crew is much smaller than the SC crew, so that also makes a difference, right? Let's see, Rap Scallywag, I certainly was tired of rushed games that promised so much but eventually came short. And then Jiru says, as a game developer, I would say the idea of doing something that hasn't been done makes it difficult to scope out work. Very good point. The unknown.
I'm sorry, man. Let me give a quick shout out to Jiro.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to you.
Yeah. Can I say something real quick?
Sure, go ahead, man.
One of my guys, he sent me a DM and he had a great point. He said, who had a vision? A nation to go to the moon. We made that happen. Yeah. And he is right, man. I love ambition, man.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very true.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, well, listen, let's jump into this next video. This is the one that we were talking about before the show that we think you guys will be excited about. Now, this is done in 2012. And it was done by the former editor of PC Magazine. And he actually got Chris Roberts and David Braben together to talk about their games while they were at the Kickstarter, right after the Kickstarter modes for their games. So I think you guys will find, I'd never seen this one. I've seen a lot of other early videos, but I had not seen this one until I started doing the research for this show. So take a look at this, and I think you guys will dig what you see.
And can I pop in one thing?
Yep.
I'm surprised at how little people have ever seen these. The view count on these are below 100,000.
I know, isn't that weird? I know. You would think the community itself would have had more than enough to see it, right? But it's interesting. Here we go.
Neither community.
Hello and welcome to this special podcast. I'm Gary Witter. I'm the former editor-in-chief of PC Gamer. I'm here in San Francisco. And joining me today are two of my personal gaming heroes. Two guys whose games I played growing up. I hope it doesn't age them too much. And wrote about as a games journalist. And I'm now very excited to see and play what they've got coming up next. They both have huge projects currently in the works through Kickstarter. And I'm going to introduce them both. Joining me from Los Angeles is Chris Roberts. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Gary. How you doing?
I'm very well. And, of course, people will know Chris as the creator of Wing Commander and Privateer and Freelancer, really one of the big pioneers in the whole world of space combat, space exploration games. And also joining me from Cambridge in England, David Braben, perhaps the grandfather, godfather, whatever you want to call him, of space combat, space exploration, the co-creator of the original classic Elite from, what am I right, 83, 84, David?
84, yeah.
When did it first come out?
84.
84?
Yeah.
On the BBC Micro, and later on 8-bit and 16-bit systems, and then had a sequel in the form of Frontier Elite 2, and now even that is coming back. This Elite, I got to say, is the number one game of all time that I wanted to see come back. I know you've been working on it a long time, so I'm so excited to see it happening in this way. And I'm very honored to have been asked to come here and kind of bring you two guys together. And basically, the point of this podcast is to talk a little bit about the where you two guys are with your projects right now through Kickstarter. And we were just saying before the podcast, I got to say, this is tremendously great of you guys. Even though people might imagine that you're both working on big space combat type games, there are some commonalities between the two games, both being funded through Kickstarter. One might imagine that you two guys are rivals, but here you are actually trying to actively help promote and talk about each other's properties. I don't remember when I was a game journalist, developers being this nice. Are we all just getting mellow in our old age? What's going on? Why are you guys actually trying to help each other out? You should beat each other's throats.
We have a common goal. I think that we both love the sort of game that Wing Commander, that Elite represented from, I don't know, whatever it is, 2 decades more ago, 3 decades ago even. And they're the sort of games that I really, really love to play. And ironically, there hasn't been that sort of game for a good 10 years, more than that. And so from a publisher point of view, a publisher doesn't really know how successful such a game is going to be. And that's what both Chris and I are essentially up against.
Chris, that makes a good point. What did happen to the space combat game? Wing Commander was a huge franchise back in the day. Elite is one of the biggest and most successful games of all time. So why did the space combat genre just go away?
I have a theory, but partly it's because there was a shift from PC to console games around about sort of the end of the 90s, the turn of the century, into the 21st century. And I think what happened is when consoles first came around, people didn't think of Sims being on a console. They thought of sports games, and they thought of platformers, and they thought of car driving simulations and stuff like that. And so when the first round of games were made, those were not the kind of games that were getting greenlit on consoles. And if you remember, even first-person shooters didn't exist on consoles back then. And everyone said, oh, first-person shooter can never work on a console. You don't have a mouse. You can't do all this. And then Infinity Ward fought Activision actively to essentially get Modern Warfare on a console. And now one of the biggest genre on a console is the first-person shooter. And I think that any genre needs a developer, like a lead developer, or someone that's got some clout, to be really pushing a particular genre. And, in the case of, say, first-person shooters, you had, the Bungie guys doing Halo, you had the Infinity Ward guys doing the Call of Duty stuff, and, you had, id doing doing their stuff. But, and you had, people the same on action and platformers on the consoles, but on the space sim side, there wasn't really anyone. And you know what it's like in the film business. Everyone's like, hey, Westerns are dead, or sci-fi films are dead. And, then Avatar comes along, there's $2.7 billion. It's like, no, you need a good one. And so I think there probably hasn't been a good, a space sim of the style of an Elite or a Wing Commander over the last 10 years. And so that's one of the reasons why you haven't particularly seen it being a major genre. And I hope what's happening right now is you're seeing a bit of a resurgence. And I hope what David's doing and what I'm doing are going to put it back on the map. Because I think once we finish our games and get them going, they'll have an audience of several million people, and it will be enough that publishers should pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, also
I know that since the last Elite game many years ago, you've been trying, I think, fairly constantly, at the very least on and off, to try and get the next big version of Elite out there. Did you experience any kind of pushback from traditional publishers about the space combat genre not being in fashion anymore? I mean, what's your journey been like from here to there?
Well, yes, I mean, we've done it as a sort of a background skunkworks of it for quite a time, and it's been very start-stop. But the issue with publishers is publishers very much want to see sort of an approach story-based gaming. They also, when you put the schedule, you have to. A paper design is something that's not very good if you want to be able to experiment to get it just right. I mean, if you look at what actually is the game, I think Chris and I are actually making quite different games. I think that's what's important. It's just an element of the setting that's important. It's making them in a science fiction setting. I'm sure you guys both know Gary Penn, but he first described GTA to me as Elite in a City. And it's the kind of freedom that these games give you that I think is also what appeals to me. But if you were to say that to a publisher, they go, "Oh, don't be silly. That's not what we're talking about. It's not the freedom that's important. We want an epic story and all of that side." And to me, the both games I think are absolutely I want to play, but they're so different. I mean, Star Citizen Elite, Elite Dangerous, where we're going, that it's a bit like if there hadn't been a science fiction film set in space for a very long time, would we see them? I mean, we seem to see in the film world films coming along almost like buses. You wait for ages, and then several come in the same genre all at the same time. And then suddenly you see film companies going, "Oh, we want another one of those. That was great. That sold absolutely huge numbers." And I think really that's what we're doing. We're trying to essentially reclaim something that existed a decade or two ago, and we really believe in it, and that's what we're doing. I think that's why it's really exciting. That's why people in the games business essentially want to see this happen. That's why I think Kickstarter is fantastic.
Well, and what's interesting, of course, is that everyone these days loves the idea of free-form exploration, what they call sandbox gaming. Elite was doing sandbox before that was even a word.
Well, the irony was that Elite was the sort of game that the publishers at the time really didn't want. I'm sure this echoes with what Chris said. One of the Ian and I first showed the game in a relatively nearly complete form to Thorn EMI, and they loved this. "Oh, it's a fantastic graphical demo. But what do you mean it takes weeks to play? We want something which will play in about 10 minutes. We want. I mean, they were very obsessed with what we later called the coin drop. They wanted 3 lives, and they wanted it to be snackable. They wanted something where you'd maybe get a 4th life if you crossed a score of 10,000. They were horrified by the idea that you wouldn't have a score, and that cash would go backwards, that you'd spend it. They really didn't like that. And I've got a rejection letter that lists what I would consider to be the key features of the game. They wanted us to get rid of having saved positions. You had to be able to play through in 10 minutes, maybe a bit longer if you were really, really good. And they wanted more of a sort of wave-based approach to the game. It would have been a completely different game, and these days it would have disappeared. We fought for that, and eventually did find some like-minded people in a company that I don't see us as a traditional publisher. It was Acorn Soft, attached to Acorn, who they got excited by it as individuals more so than in a corporate manner. And it was such a small organisation, it didn't really matter, the distinction. And that was how Elite originally got made. But it was very different to what was around at the time.
Well, of course, times obviously have changed since the 80s when we were all first getting started out. And of course, back in the day, when a lot of the biggest hit games were created just by 1 or 2 people in out of their garage or their spare bedroom, that you could kind of go around the traditional publisher model and just kind of do it on your own. But these days, to make the kind of games on the kind of scale that they've evolved into today, you do need huge teams and millions of dollars. So you've got a choice of either trying to convince a publisher, which seems harder and harder to do these days, or follow this new Kickstarter model. So I want to ask Chris, obviously your Kickstarter has been phenomenally successful, and I think that it's clearly one of the, along with the Double Fine game and a couple of others, has emerged as one of the big standard bearers for just what's possible through Kickstarter financing on a grand scale. Did you gravitate towards Kickstarter immediately as the way to fund and make this game work, or did you consider going the traditional publisher route, or do you just feel like that's just not the way you want to do business anymore?
This particular, so on Star Citizen, I was not thinking that the traditional publisher route was making a lot of sense, because I don't really see what you get from a traditional publisher in sort of that online PC format. I mean, if you take a look at some of the biggest successes on the PC in that world, I mean, it's League of Legends with Riot, and it's World of Tanks with Wargaming.net, and neither one of those guys. Riot was nobody. They weren't a publisher at all. And Wargaming.net were this tiny little publisher based in the Ukraine that no one had really heard of. So I don't think whether EA's behind you or not or Activision was behind you was making a massive difference. As long as you have a great game, I think there's a sort of democracy that happens out in the PC world, especially online, that I don't think you're getting a benefit of what you get with a big box publisher. A big box publisher gets you into storefronts all around the world. has sort of the clout for that and can really sort of orchestrate a marketing campaign in those sort of traditional channels. But on the online world, I don't really see it kind of working. I mean, I think the only, big publisher that really is successful in that is Activision, and that's really just because they merged with Blizzard, and Blizzard had built that business up. So that was kind of why I went this way. I wasn't ever considering, sort of going the traditional publisher route. I mean, if I was doing a Wing Commander and it was a console game, yes, obviously I would be doing that with Electronic Arts. It's just for Star Citizen, I sort of never felt that it made a lot of sense to go the old-fashioned route.
And David, what was the tipping point for you when you figured out that Kickstarter was the way you were going to try and do this new version of Elite? Was it when you began to see some of these game projects become very successful through Kickstarter, or were you already thinking about an alternative model before even that?
Well, we were already thinking of an alternative model before we saw Star Citizen. The challenges are, from the UK, doing Kickstarter was the first sort of hurdle. There's also sort of timing and availability for that. I mean, when we saw Star Citizen, was obviously watched it with great interest. And the Double Fine project I thought was very interesting. That was where I think we realised that it was a serious proposition. In terms of what Chris is saying, it's a very, very similar logic. I mean, one of the things that we want to do is once the game comes out, we want it to be, for us to be able to be quite reactive, quite live, bringing in new features, improving things. We want the game to very much evolve over time. And in order to do that, it's actually quite hard to do that in a conventional contractual delivery structure where you end up being beholden to things that are no longer the most important things. So you've got to be with or have an arrangement that has that level of flexibility in it. And it's quite hard to create that. And this seems to be an extremely good solution to do it, both in terms of we got direct connection with the fans, and also, a lot of the constraints that come in and get in the way just aren't there, and I think that's fantastic.
So you and Chris have both touched on this now. Obviously, it does sound very appealing, the idea of kind of removing the publishers and the studio and all the people that you might be standing between you and trying to make the game that you want to make. You have a much more direct financial relationship with your audience. Is there a downside to that? You've got a lot, instead of a publisher writing the checks, you've got tens of thousands of stakeholders in this game. Is that a different kind of pressure?
Very much. I mean, it's interesting with Kickstarter that there are a lot of questions come through all the time. People concerned at various different aspects of the game, but actually it gives you a very good feel. And a lot of the questions are actually a lot more sensible than some of the questions that in my time I've seen from publishers. Yes, I think the world is changing at such a rate. It's very interesting to see where this goes, other than the fact it's going in a very good direction as far as I can see.
Okay, so that's the first one. We're going to watch part 2 to that. There are 4 parts to this, guys, and I'll put the links in for the first 2. We're not going to watch all of them. But was there anything in particular that stuck out to you, Dark Knight, in that conversation that they were having? You're muted, I think.
I was muted.
Okay.
In this first part, I took a lot of notes for this thing anyway. I wanted a few things that they both argued is that they're both 2 different games, but in the same genre. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was, comparing it to was the idea of Star Trek versus Star Wars. There's no versus because they're 2 completely different genres, or in the same genre, but completely different storylines. So they're relatable in the fact that they're both in space, that they have spaceships, that they have warp or this or that, but they're completely different, completely different titles. The same goes for Elite. And then, both of them decided forego the publisher route. Neither one of them wanted to do publishing. They thought it was a good idea to go Kickstarter. Obviously, Star Citizen came first, and David Braben watched, and they paid attention, and they thought it was going to be a good thing. But the last part was just their emphasis on being a part of a community, being close to their communities, and being able to be part, to learn from their communities, and that Kickstarter and other crowdfunding was a thing to drive that catalyst, if I want to say.
Okay, cool.
Sci-fi setting, yes, sci-fi setting, not a story. Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah, Dig, what about you? Anything stick out to you with that part of the conversation?
Oh, I love when he was talking about how publishers expected 3 lives. I was dying when he said that.
Yeah. They were really about the bottom line. You talk about the coin drop, right? The coin drop.
Yeah.
So that's all they were thinking about was, how do we translate, what we see in arcades and stuff that's immediate money, boom, that's it. It blew me away. He said like 10 minutes of gameplay. Like, what? Are you serious?
That's wild,
pretty
man.
crazy, But
level.
But it also says something about how games are being driven by the publishers more than the developers. That says something. The people who have the money are the ones who are dictating, the tone of the games that we get. And unless you have a developer that's willing to push outside of that, which is why you've got so many people doing independent developing, right? They're taking a chance. They may not have the big bucks behind them, but they want to be able to create the game that they want to be able to create,
I think that's such a beautiful thing, because then we get elites and star citizens and all that stuff. Yeah. And if you could do it on your own, then like there might be some burgeoning developers in the audience, man. Hey, develop that thing. There's so many tools right now to where, like, even people like me, I would not have a platform if I had to go through like somebody and then negotiate my way up. And I love it, man.
It's good stuff.
I love the film analogies too, because that's my, it's part of my background is film, and there are so many similarities, because these days the people who greenlight films are like business majors or masters, people that have a master's in business, and they don't have a creativity background behind them, but they're the ones who say this film is going, this one is not.
Yeah. I also found it interesting in Braben's comments about how, like, to your point, Dig, about the movie industry. He says once you get a movie that hits, then all they want to do is recreate and make more of those same type of videos.
Exactly. So, let's do it again.
Right. And so we saw when Star Citizen and Elite came out, all of a sudden we had this big rush. If you guys remember, from 2012 through 2015, 16, it was like all these games started coming out that was space related. I even remember there was that one Call of Duty where you went into space. Remember? And people were mad about it because it was really nothing but a bunch of sequences. But people kept saying, "Oh, this is going to kill Star Citizen. This is going to kill Elite."
Really? They were saying that?
Oh, dude. Some of you guys might look at them. They remember that stuff. And John remembers. People was talking about that Call of Duty game was going to blow everything out the water. And they found out that stuff was nothing but a bunch of scenes that were pre-cut. So, anyway, Fast Car says he remembers. Okay, let's look at part 2 real quick, and then we're going to keep it moving here, okay?
Pepper's Farm remembers.
You remember.
So I don't want to talk about Kickstarter too much. I want to ask you guys one more question about it, and then we'll move on to the games themselves. But I want to just check in on the status of your Kickstarters right now. Chris, I'm going to say kudos to you, dude. This is pretty amazing. So you started out, you had a $500,000 goal. You're currently at $2,134,000, so you're funded more than 4 times over.
Wow!
Have you been surprised by the response? I mean, do you have more money? You don't know what to do with at this point, or what?
Oh yeah. Well, so also, Gary, you may not have. I'm not sure if you checked, but it's a lot more than 2. So basically, when we ran the crowdfunding, the primary amount of crowdfunding has been directly on the Roberts Space Industries side. It hasn't been on Kickstarter.
Oh, so this isn't the Kickstarter part is just a portion of the whole total.
We're basically almost at 7 million. I'm
what?
A quick recap.
Why are you even here? I would be on a beach in Belize.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No, so we're at $6,942,000. So we'll be at 7 million in the next week or so.
And then how does that track with what you originally felt like you needed to make? Is that more than you felt like you needed? Are you going to be able to scale the game up? Like, how does that work?
Well, definitely I can add more detail, but essentially I did a deal with, I'd already sort of lined up private equity for the game, because the game I'm making, I can't make for $2 million or $3 million or more than that. But I lined up some private equity, and the crowdfunding was meant to be a portion of the funding, not all the funding. And essentially the crowdfunding was sort of demonstrating demand, that's an audience, because I'm dealing with people that, everyone's like, even though they kind of believe it, you sort of have to prove to them that there's the audience there. And so that's one thing that you can do on the crowdfunding side. But for me, it's been great, because what it really means I can do is I can sort of have a lot more content in the world at the beginning. So like the downside of the approach I'm taking versus what David's taking with Elite is that a lot of my sort of world is crafted, right? So a lot of the way, some of the really cool stuff about Elite is it's sort of procedural, and it lets you have this massive universe that you can explore around. And, I'm sort of taking it from a different angle, which is I'm sort of crafting, much more sort of specific content and story content. And so what that means is my world is naturally going to be smaller than David's world, because his is sort of a big, huge procedural world. And, there's, like I said, that's why I think both games have their place, and there's going to be people that will play both and have a good time playing both. About 10 days into our own crowdfunding on our campaign, we sort of also opened up Kickstarter, because there's definitely an audience on Kickstarter that they hang together, they like the fun games, they it's almost like they love to pick the games they want to fund. And I see groups of people move from one project to another project on Kickstarter, and I look at a lot of my backers, and they all, they fund a lead and 10 other projects. So there's definitely sort of a separate ecosystem in Kickstarter does it. So we folded in Kickstarter, and Kickstarter was approximately, just under a third of the money that we raised. But, for me, all of that's great. I mean, it's just, what's really nice about this whole thing is you're cutting out the publisher, because all publishers do is give you money for the game. They go, oh, I think you'll have lots of people pay you for this game, so I'm going to front the game. I'm going to front you the money, and I'm going to take, basically I'm going to own it and control it, and I'll give you a little cut of it. And so if you can cut that out, then from someone that's a creative and a developer, it's much better, because, you're still selling to the same people, but you have control.
You have the kind of problems that I want to have. Too many people trying to give me money all at once. That's a good problem to have. David, I want to check in with your Kickstarter. It looks like you're based kind of at the halfway mark, right? You launched about a month ago, and it looks like you're about halfway towards your funding goal with 30 days left to go. So what do you do at the halfway mark, other than little events like this to try and promote the game? Obviously, you don't just sit back and hope the totalizer kind of reaches where you want it to go. Is it an active process? What are you trying to do to make sure you hit your goal at this point?
Oh, absolutely. We've been putting content up on the site all the time. We've got development diaries, which we've just done the second one of. And also, we're looking to see what people are querying, what people are most concerned about, most interested about, and trying to make sure we answer those things. But also trying to get across, both how we make the game, where we are now, and what things in the game that we really care about. And really, that is great, because it really vindicates the or not, the thinking, seeing how people respond to what we're doing in the game. The one we recently put up was about how we expect the galaxy to evolve. And it evolves very, very slowly, but it evolves in a way that is sort of very dependent on how the players play. So elements like that all feed into the game design, and we are being very sort of aware of what people are saying in terms of the game design, and we expect that to happen. We expect the work to actually start once we get funding. That's the great challenge, and I'm sure that's where Chris is now, thinking, right, we've got to make this thing, we've got to deliver. That's the challenge, but that's what we're here for.
I mean, it obviously is very attractive to get rid of the old publisher model for all kinds of reasons I can imagine. But do you feel more pressure? Is it more scary feeling directly responsible to 100,000 game player stakeholders, or to just like one John Riccitello type character? What's actually scarier to you?
Well, I think it's a huge responsibility. I mean, we've tried it at Frontier a few times now. You've possibly seen the Lost Winds games, which have done pretty good for us in terms of numbers. They've done very well. I mean, they're games we're very proud of. And what we've got to do is it's have a mentality where you do have to make sure the quality's there, the delivery's there, and those things really, really important to the game. But actually, it's easier than I expect in many ways, and in some ways harder than expect, where you as you say, you don't have the person sort of shouting in your ear, but actually your own sort of judge of quality is such a strong driver, wanting to do something that's really good. I've had bad publisher arrangements in the past, which have been an absolute nightmare. And those, especially for this kind of game, are what is really the problem. That's the way you end up with bad games, where you have people in conflict.
So, Chris, it's good that I've got you both on the line right now, because you are in kind of different stages of your evolution right now. You're already kind of sitting on a huge pile of cash. You've had a wildly successful Kickstarter. You're wildly overfunded. And right next to you is David, who's right in the middle of, like, let's say, the halfway point, both in terms of time and the funding goals he has for Elite. Do you have any advice from him at this point? Like, how does he get to where he wants to in the home stretch in these last 30 days? What should he be doing?
First of all, by the way, on your previous question about whether it's more scary dealing with John Riccitiello or the crowd, John Riccitiello is a teddy bear. So the thing is that the crowd, there's a lot of them, and I really feel the pressure, and I think David probably will do too, is we've got to deliver. We can't, I can, you can fob off a publisher. You can be like, hey, we're going to run late on this milestone, and at the end of the day, as long as your relationship's mostly good and the publisher really kind of wants your game, they'll give you a bunch of slack. Whereas with the crowd, I feel like if I'm late on a milestone or late on something, I'm going to have a really good reason for them, and I'm going to have to explain it to them and all that sort of stuff, because it's 100,000 people. There's some energy with the crowd that makes you want to, you feel like you can't really slide on it. But I would say the biggest thing that I noticed. By the way, I apologize. This is Monday's garbage pickup, so you're hearing a massive garbage truck outside.
With your extra cash you don't know what to do with?
No. Trust me, we know the budgets of these kind of games. I mean, maybe a lot by crowdfunding standards, but by making a high-end AAA game, it's not really that much money. But no, I would say the biggest thing is that my experiences on the crowdfunding is really that the things that are important are the constant sort of back and forth with the community. Interacting with them, which David's doing, taking on their suggestions. I mean, they're not designing the game, but you should certainly listen to them. And you've got like this great free focus group that loves, they believe in what you're doing. So they're the best people. They're much better than a publishing executive to listen to, because the publishing executive really isn't your audience. This is your audience. So that's really important. And they want frequent updates. So, I mean, my big advice, it's more difficult for David because he's in the middle of it, but I would say anyone that's doing crowdfunding, I mean, I didn't do this either myself, if I was ever doing it again, I would prepare a hell of a lot more content up front, and then I would release it over the campaign, because everyone wants something every day. I mean, that is the downside of the internet culture, the 24/7. I mean, first of all, David's got it, I've got it, we've got backers all around the world. So they don't care whether it's like the middle of the night for us or it's the weekend. It's like they literally want someone to interact with them every single second of the day. And so, that's pretty exhausting. And to a certain level, I think that both of us don't mind it, because it's really cool to have people that just love this game and are willing to give us money to make it happen. But it's still pretty exhausting. So, teeing up content it's not easy, right? It's like, well, David, we both made games for a long time. Making, having stuff that we're proud of to show people takes time. You can't do it in an hour. So everyone's like, where's my update today? Or where's my video? And that's difficult to do. I mean, we're trying to do it, but I do think that there's a level of that people don't necessarily understand how much work it takes to do that. And David's doing it. I did a bunch of it, but I would say that kind of stuff, the more that you do, the better. And then the last thing I would say that was really insightfully useful for me was that there were some situations where we actually reached back out to the community and asked them, say, hey, we can go left or right here. What would you like? We actually ran quite a few polls with our community. Like for instance, we have a lot of add-ons, and I think that was the reason why it let us raise more money, was because we sort of made this sort of microtransaction, if you will, inside the crowdfunding side. Not so much because that's necessarily how we plan to make a vast amount of money once the game happens, but it was sort of a way to almost gamify the crowdfunding, and people were kind of into it. They wanted to collect the different ships and all the rest of the stuff, and it helped us drive our average pledge up.
David, I think it's kind of fascinating that both of you guys are working on games where a big aspect of the design is
I'm going to close my window.
Trade and supply and demand, and both of you guys are kind of getting a real-time lesson in a new kind of economics, even as you build these games. Are you having a similar journey to Chris in terms of figuring out what kind of incentives and what kinds of tiers your backers will respond to, and overall, do you feel like you're having more of a direct conversation with your audience as you're building the game than you would in a traditional publishing arrangement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we've also added tiers that you can add on to your pledge of things like whether it's a model spaceship or T-shirts, mugs, all that sort of thing. With all of those things, I mean, I think one of the things that I think we weren't as prepared for Kickstarter as we definitely should have been with hindsight. But I think that's going to be true with everybody in the sense that you always want more preparation. Had we been more prepared, we'd still want to have been more prepared with material ready to go. So, I mean, what I every day I think is how amazing the amount of support that have come from fans of the game, and it's really heartening to see the positivity towards the game, the love for the game, how much people care about it, and they've spent a lot of their time, for which I'm eternally grateful, evangelizing the game on sites to their friends and all that sort of thing. You know, it's great to see how word of mouth is working, and very heartening. I mean, the thing here is we are building the game for ourselves, and I feel for a while, you often building a game for a particular market when you're with a publisher. They say, oh, we're aiming for this target market. And so that slightly decouples you from judging, well, how difficult do I want to make it? You know, how big a surprise do I want it to be? How hard do I want it to be able to do this or whatever? You know, what kind of involvement do I want with the game? Do I want it to be purely multiplayer? Do I want single player? All of these sort of things are things that it's been very, very clear from the fans, what they really want, what they care about. And interesting, the platforms that people are talking about are actually slightly different to what we're usually used to delivering on. So all of these things are different, you know, and I absolutely agree with Chris, you know, talking about sort of bringing back the PC game. It's amazing how much in this industry is to some extent fashion-led, in the sense that people see PC games performing slightly less, and so assume the PC game is dead. But then you start to think, well, what is the PC? You know, is a tablet you carry around that's running a sort of like a PC? You know, it just changes with time, and so does the audience. But I know a lot of people who are gamers in the original sense who feel they've been left out, and it's those people that I think we have a chance here of really sort of bringing back to the fore, if you like.
Okay, let me run this past you guys. Dig that. You know, obviously these two game models were being funded in the beginning. They both started out with Kickstarters. Chris talked about how the fact that he actually started the Kickstarter model as a way of showing if there was really any demand, if people really wanted to see a game like Star Citizen be made. And initially, I think you already know, some other people know that Chris already had investors that were going to put up money as well. Star Citizen has made some promises in the sense of how funding will be done. We know it's right now being done through backing and ships, like premiums, things of that nature. But there's always been this thing about when the game comes out, Squadron 42 is what you're going to pay for. You'll pay this one-time payment for Star Citizen, and after that, you can earn what you want to in game. Elite Dangerous has gone a different way. They've gone with what is similar in some ways to DLC. For those of you who were in the early days, there was an actual package you could buy in the very beginning. If you bought that package, you got all updates, all DLCs, you got everything, right? But that's only if you were around in the early days. They later offered more what was like a Game Pass version of where you could get DLCs as well. But just recently, we had to, ready to go to Odyssey, there was this next phase again. I think was it Horizons was the last one. They didn't charge for engineers. Engineers, there was no charge for, if I'm remembering correctly. Is that correct, guys?
It was just the Horizons update.
It was just Horizons, so right?
You're right. That included the engineers landing on planets, all of that.
Okay, so then we get to Odyssey, and then we do have a patch. I think if you wanted to do the alpha testing, I'm giving US dollars here. I think it was $54.99 if you wanted to come in and do the alpha testing. If you wanted to pre-order, it was $39.99. I came in a week before the launch. I paid $34.99, and that got me the game and it got me the soundtrack. And if you wanted to just get the game only, it was $29.99. Okay, so I want to ask Dig first, and I'm coming to you, Dark Knight. How do you feel about that model? Because obviously, you know, there's some people who are going to say, well, if I paid for the full game, why am I paying for this other stuff? But it goes back to our comment earlier about, is Kelosal here? Oh, Kelosal's here.
Yep.
Okay, give me video and I'll get you up, buddy.
I'm up. I've been up.
Oh, you're. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Okay, there you.
No. I'm sorry. I had an emergency board meeting.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right, I'm gonna get Kelosal in here while Dig that is answering this question. Dig, the reality is that Elite still has to generate money. They still got to bring in money because they are still in development. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think recently they've kind of looked at Star Citizen's model and started integrating that with their own. And I don't mean that in no disrespectful way, but because I was taking a look, I was with my boy. We was taking a look at the Frontier store, which actually they've moved everything to an Elite Danger store. And so like ship paints, they was always like somewhere between like a couple dollars to like $7, something like that. So now that they got the space legs going, they do. You know how much the things are? You can spend $20 on getting some cosmetics for your suit and your guns and all that stuff. Not the guns, but the suits. I mean, the guns are still like $7, but so I think they're taking a look at that and seeing and looking at other avenues of revenue.
Okay.
But yeah, the models were different, and they still are. But I think that Elite is starting to see how that the revenue is out there, and they're trying to approach that from a little bit different perspective, but still like generate that revenue similar to Star Citizen.
Okay. DK, what about you? Any thoughts on that about the difference in the revenue models?
Yeah, I echo what Dig was saying, and then adding on top of that is in the same way, they still need to have funding in order to continue to make the game that that David Braben wants. And since they're not doing crowdfunding anymore, now they're relying on these DLC, these packages, these paints and ship skins and things like that. That's their way of making money, and then also bringing in more revenue from game sales itself. But with the with the new DLCs and things like that, I think they're doing what they need to do to make the money. And I agree with Dig, that they're trying to work on a new model to bring to rake it, bring in some cash, because like they still want to do more stuff to the game, and that's going to require more money. And obviously they can't sell ships, so they got to do what they can on any other way. Okay,
let me throw this out because I'm going since my other half over here, Colosal's here now. I got the two Elite Pros over there, and I got the two Elite Rookies over here. Right, I'm gonna throw a question to you guys now. Let me throw this at you real quick. I'm gonna throw this on the screen, okay? Now, I didn't know about this, Dark Knight Dig. I didn't know about this because when I left the game, you were still able to go to, how you used to go into the launcher and they would show you like all the little the things you could buy, right? You could buy the bobbleheads, you could buy the paints and all that. That was when I was deep into the game during Horizons, when that was still around, right? So then when I come back this time, I go to the launcher and I don't see none of that stuff. I'm like, man, well, how do you find this stuff? So I go into Odyssey, right? And I go to the terminal and I'm like, oh, here's your gun and here's your suit and here's these items you can buy. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, I got a couple million credits on me. Let me go ahead and buy this stuff. And then I get in there, yeah, you laughing. I get in there and find out that none of them credits mean squat. I couldn't buy anything. And so it caught me so off guard because that wasn't there before. And then I say, then it says, click on this to go. And the next thing you know, this website thing pops up and y'all got to help me out here because I was an Eve player. And in Eve, we had something very similar. Elite has arcs. I knew nothing about this. We had Plex in Eve arcs. And so, and I know you guys can't see it because it's in small print. So bear with me here. I will very quickly, I'm going to make this big so y'all can see it on the screen. Well, I grabbed the wrong one. Hang on. I'm going to make this real big for a hot second on the screen for you guys because I was blown away by this and I was a little bit taken back, but it's real. So I can't be mad at them because I know they're trying to generate some funding. Okay. So you get 5,000 arcs for $3.99, which is over here on the left. And then on the far right, the biggest amount you can pay is, I think it's $59.99, and you get 85,000 arcs, okay? And then, now that's the currency you have to use in game if you want to buy like the cosmetics and stuff. Is that correct, guys? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And I ain't gonna lie, they were very smart to do that. But it does leave a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth because nothing costs exactly that amount of arcs that you can buy. So what you end up with is leftover arcs. You're like, well, I might as well spend that. So you buy some more arcs.
And I can't buy the next thing because I don't have enough arcs.
It ends up being a loop, man.
Okay, so is this I'm not saying this in a bad way. I know they have to find ways to generate money. How does the elite community feel about that? I mean, were they receptive to it? Where they were like, whoa, wait a minute. Where were they at with that when this ARCs thing popped up?
Well, some people's head blew, and I don't, and I don't blame them because they changed the model. It was just like you could go in there and you could go to the store and buy what you wanted for the actual cash, and it was the exact amount. So $4.99 for a ship skin. I paid $4.99 for a ship skin. Plus my tax. But now I got to pay $5 to get 5,000, and I paid $5, but I'm not using all of that $5. So I'm not using all of it. So next time I want to do something, I either got to earn the arcs because you can earn the arcs in game, which takes a while because they only give you a certain amount per week.
Or you can't earn them in game.
I can go to the store. You can earn them in game. Yes, up to 400 per week.
Yeah,
up to 400 per week.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah,
is that
that's it? Yeah, 400 arcs per week. That's all you get.
Wow. So no, wait a minute. So you saying no matter how much you grind, there's a cutoff per week that you.
There's a cutoff per week, right? So if you really want that ship skin, and actually right now, if you really want that suit skin for your Odyssey character, it might cost you $10, $11 in arcs in order to get it. And you got to pay for the arcs. Or if you want to earn it in game, who knows how long it might take? How long might that take? So it encourages you to buy the arcs to go buy the.
Okay. So I
don't want to say
like Admiral Kusanagi says here. He says I prefer that they ask for cash, and I get it because you're getting exactly what you want, and that's it. And their model, and it's some people might consider it, taking advantage, but you're right. They know by giving out so many credits that you're either going to have extra credits left over, or you're not going to have enough, and you're going to have to go to the next level, which generates more income. Now, look, y'all can see Colosal's face, right? Y'all see Colosal's face. It's like, cause here's the question that me and Kelosal both had. I know this is going to sound totally crazy. We had an ethical issue with getting into the alpha. We really did. Now, this is stupid. This is totally stupid.
Ethical issue?
We don't even want to tell you how much money we have spent on Star Citizen. But I had an ethical issue in Kelosal, and we didn't talk about this till after we had both made the decision. We both did not want to pay for the alpha. Because our attitude was like, we've been in here since the beta. I got to pay $60 or $55 to test your game. I'm not doing it. I actually waited. I waited to pay the $34.99. And Kelosal, tell them what you said, Kelosal, because you said the same thing.
Well, mine was an accident. It was a good trouble, but necessary trouble that I got into with mine because I really wanted to get into that alpha. Now, when I saw that price range, I was really, really upset. But let me tell you how I saw the price range. I saw the price range after I paid the $39. Thinking that was going to get me an alpha, and didn't realize that I had to spend an extra $20+ more to get an alpha because I'm sitting here trying to click and refresh, and I'm like, why in the hell is my alpha thing not working? And then I see that the alpha, it was $60 to get an alpha. 60.
Oh, I guess I gotta watch my wallet more. Okay.
And I was like, you are out of your mind. If I'm sitting here, if I've had Horizons and prior to that, and you're telling me that I got to really spend another whole game package, get out of Dodge. That was not happening. I was not given the difference. It was not happening. So I was quite disappointed.
But that's funny though. But it's funny considering that our total cost would have been like $150, $200. But we had a problem with that. We ain't got no problem giving thousands to CIG, but it did. And I don't know why that bothered me. I don't know why it bothered me. Maybe it was because it was like there was like the pre-order price of $34.39, and then there was the pre-order and alpha price. And I'm like, well, if you want me to test it, I got to pay you to test it now. And I was kind of like, but I guess that's what some people say about subscribers in Star Citizen. They paid us to be subscriber to test, so, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess, is depending how you could look at that, right?
Well, I guess my argument is, Star Citizen is still an alpha. And I think a lot of people, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I don't just pay for money for the ships. I pay for the development of the game. I know what I'm paying for. So I'm not stupid. And we see these ships that come out, and if anybody thinks that we're just buying it just for the ships, I think they're selling it short. We're actually putting our money in for the development of the game because we see Chris's vision, and we want to support it. Now, Elite Dangerous is supposed to have been completed, and just like Warframes will sit there and tell you, "Oh, we're still in beta, so we just throw out DLCs." and Elite Dangerous has, when they came out with Horizons, they said we had a 10-year model, right? So with that, we didn't know what was going to be within their 10-year model, but obviously you have to suspect that it's going to be a whole bunch of DLCs. And I just was under the impression that I'm going to be paying a full game's price for a DLC.
Well, that's what you missed it earlier, but Dark Knight and Dig both talked about the fact that they wish that they had a roadmap, that there was something that would allow their community to kind of know where they are and what's coming up, because in a way they're kind of blind. It's kind of like, we're just kind of waiting to hear what the next thing is. And I think you're right, Dark Knight, that would kind of make people feel a little more comfortable and secure, at least some type of seeing the plan. You know what I mean? Because even when Kelosal said about the 10, I remember them talking about the 10-year plan, but again, with game development, things change, right? And without having something to kind of go by, I can kind of see how that creates a certain amount of uncertainty. I just found it interesting that they've taken a model, and I'm not throwing any rocks at their model because here's the other thing that they generated money from. They got away with generating money from those consoles, which was another thing that they did, which Star Citizen has not done. So there's another dynamic of and they have a bigger customer base too, because of that. But even with all that, they still have to generate money. As long as they got the studios running, it's not like you're going to be selling new games every week. They've got to keep doing things to keep the numbers up.
I think that their other IPs probably support Star Citizen rather than the other way around. Like Zoo Tycoon and
Frontier's other games.
Yeah.
I forgot about the other ones that they've got. That's very true.
Well, get ready, Griff. Just go ahead and throw out that 20 to 150 for that decal. That 20 to 200 for that Hollow Me.
Don't start.
And that 460 to 5,520 for that paint job, that ship launcher fighter, that Scarab SRV, that Drake class carry. Go ahead and spin that arc on that.
Don't start.
Somebody asked me was I going to do it. They thought I was going to do it. And I was like, I am not going to do it. Although I support Elite Dangerous. I support your Elite. I really do. I think you're a fun game. I love it. I'm not paying for that.
A homie who spends buku money on Elite Dangerous, like before Arcs came out, he probably spent like $1,500. He just buys all the stuff. Right. And so now, like, since Arcs came up and like we was talking about how you gotta pay, I forget the amount, but like for like the colors of your landing numbers, like on the platforms, and he was like, and then we got to the stuff where you buy the cosmetic stuff for your suits. He's like, yeah, I couldn't do it. This is a dude that spent $1,500 on that stuff, and now he's balking at like because the price has like gone up to a critical level just for buying. Like, I want to make my dude look like a cowboy. And so, it's getting bananas, man. Now, I understand where they're coming from, but and they see that the revenue is definitely out there. Like, I was looking to buy some stuff, but I thought it was gonna be like $5 to $7. I'm not spending $20 on a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was amazed to see how many Elite videos when you watch people playing that those cosmetic items sell. I see people with the Christmas lights on their thing, the bobbleheads. I mean, people be tricking their ships, and I get that, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's kind of important in Star Citizen. Some people say, "Oh, I don't care about naming my ship." Yes, there are people that do that. They want to personalize their thing. They don't want their thing to be like everybody else's, even if it's nothing more than a bobblehead on their dashboard.
Exactly.
That's what they want to be able to do, and there's revenue in that. And I'd rather pay revenue for those side cosmetics than to be paying, keep having to pay for subscriptions. You know what I mean? I have no problem with that. Some people will pay it. Some people could care less about that stuff because some people will never name their ship in Star Citizen. Other people couldn't wait to name their names in Star Citizen. You know, so
they was fighting about, I can't name my ship the same name as this. Like, cause they, everybody, a lot of people don't have no imagination, and so they all want to name it the USS Enterprise and all that stuff like that.
Millennium Falcon spelled with 4 L's and 2 P's for freeze and
this is true.
Points.
This is true.
Types of dyslexia all through lettering. Absolutely. Yeah.
This is true. Okay, so I tell you what, I was going to show the making of Elite Dangerous, but the only reason why I was going to show it is that in many ways they have the different developers come on, and it's just that I want to show it because they say some of the same words and same phrasing that the people from Star Citizen do. They're all passionate. They all want to see certain things in the game. They all worked very hard. And I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying they're very similar in their desire to see Elite grow and talking about the fact of keeping it open so that in the future they can put in much more of the vision. Now, a lot of people have always said they thought that would be very difficult. How do you create an engine like that and then also keep it open enough so that while it's out there, you can constantly be making those changes? Star Citizen's done it. They've had some real issues with doing it, in an alpha state. But like Kelosal was saying, Elite is kind of supposedly, and it's in a finished state, but it's constantly evolving, So anyway, I'm going to jump a little bit here because of our time, because it's already 8:30 and we got 3 more videos to look at. The first one here, for those of you who've never played Elite, I'm just going to very quickly show you guys a couple of videos here. This is one of the first big challenges that anybody that plays Elite plays, and that is something as simple as docking. So first time you did that, how did you feel when you flew into the station?
Oh man, it was awesome because I was playing in VR. And so, just going through here, and then I don't know, you got me thinking about it all over again coming into this thing. It just felt beautimous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DK, what about you? First time you did it?
I came up to that station and it was rotating. I'm like, how in the world am I going to get in that little tiny mail slot? The station's rotating around. I'm trying to get lined up and everything, and I'm like, I'm going down. Right. And then you get inside. How am I going to land, and where's the landing pad?
Right.
Oh, you want to talk about little spaces? How about Star Citizen's landing pads when you go into like a city or something?
Oh yeah, it's totally different.
Landing pad.
Yeah.
Big old ship.
Yep. Kelosal, what about you? How did you handle the first time you flew in an Elite coming into a station?
I mean, I was in amazement. I mean, it took me a while. I had to stay in practice with the flight first because I didn't know how in the world to fly the ship. But then once I got into that actual state and the awe of just how big it was, the first time I played, I thought they had a unique system of landing and going back into the space station. I thought this was amazing. It was quite an eye-dropping moment. And then to take it even further, to add VR to it. If you haven't played Elite Dangerous in VR, you are shorting yourself, folks. Play it in VR. It is amazing. It is amazing.
That's very, very true.
Shout out to Emojo, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got it. No, go ahead. Give a shout. You can give a shout.
Hey, shout out to Emojo, whatever. Hey, shout out. Hey, good looking out. Thanks for supporting the stream.
Absolutely. And AR Verpine, thank you as well for the follow as well. Yeah, the first time I did this, I agree with you, Dark Knight. I sat outside that thing and just watched it rotating and say, I actually have to turn while I'm going in this sucker. Yeah, for those of you who've never flown an Elite, we can tell you, and I'm sure a lot of you have, when you've been flying in Star Citizen for a while, you go back to Elite, you have to reprogram your brain about flying. Yes. You really do. It's a little more Newtonian than Star Citizen is. But once you get back into the groove of it, you're pretty cool. I spent like the last couple of days just kind of getting back into the whole thing of flying. The one thing that I do like that Elite has is it's got good training aspects and videos that are built into the game that I think are helpful, especially if they're just as refresher courses. So that's one of the things that I really do like about it. Let's jump out of this.
Real quick, those training are new. They just added that like maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, because the only thing you had training before was that first thing at the beginning of the asteroid belt, and that was it. Yeah, you were on your own after that. But the training in it is nice. Yeah, it is nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this next video. Now, this is where we're going to get into Odyssey, you all. This was the first time that what is it? I did this as the demo. So first thing we're going to do is go to the station. Some of you all have already seen this, but I do want to get Dark Knight and Dig's feelings about it, and then me and Kelosal will talk about it, because they were the ones that have been really anticipating the release of Odyssey and this whole thing of, as you guys know, people getting their space leg. So let's talk about it a little bit. What was the first thing I want to say about this? And Dig, I'll cover you first. First time you're able to walk around your ship in Elite, how did it feel? Were you impressed? Because I know you've been dealing with Star Citizen scale. That's why I kind of want to know.
Yeah.
Because I know for people who don't play Star Citizen, it was probably like super, super impressive. Were you impressed because you saw they pulled it off, or did you feel the scale?
It felt good. It felt really, really good. And I think mostly that's coming from now we finally have some more stuff perspective. And then, but I was impressed with finally seeing the scale of ships, like walking up to the ship. Then you can finally see, because, we've been looking at the ships forever, and it's hard to in one of my videos, I said it's hard to look at the scale even in VR. But once you got a commander on foot, then you like look at the Sidewinder. Like, I mean, it's one of the smaller ships, but it looks huge,
right,
compared to what you might have thought before.
Okay. Same thing to you, Dark Knight. What'd you think when you first got in there?
Yeah, I mean, I again echo what Dig was saying, and coming from Star Citizen to Elite, I gotta say again, I'm not gonna compare him at this moment, because stepping out of my ship in Elite and looking up at my ship was just amazing. It was just like, oh, so that's how big my crate is. Now I have more love for my medium-sized ship. It's just like this looks amazing. To walk around it and see how big the gear is and how tall and how wide it is, and that was a great feeling. And then pulling out the cutter and seeing how big the stairs were, realizing I couldn't walk up them.
Yeah, which is kind of funny that they didn't get the scale right on that. That is kind of funny.
They got to work on.
Yeah. Dig, if you don't mind me asking, what is the largest ship that you do have in Elite?
Man, I got all the ships, baby.
Really? Wow. Okay.
No, but you know what? I didn't even realize it. The largest ship is the Beluga, the little Sal Kruger or like there's a dolphin, there's something else, and then the Beluga. And I'm gonna come out with a video in maybe a week or so, but I'm doing a 1-to-1, like showing everything what the differences is, and the Beluga is ginormous, dude. I think
hundreds of millions.
Yeah, man. And I think that if they do, I don't know, I kind of got my doubts on that, but if they do in an interior, like it's gonna be way big. Y'all been in the 890 jump, yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I think it's gonna dwarf the interior of the 890 jump.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelosal. Since you've had some time in there, you got a chance to take a look at it. What'd you think of the scale?
I mean, like I agree with Dig that, and I also agree with Dark Knight. I'm not going to compare the games,
right?
Because I think both games are uniquely are unique to each other, and I would advise anybody and everybody to go purchase Elite Dangerous if they don't have it. It's a great game. I do think the scale is good. I'm looking for a little bit more. And I've flown around in about at least 2 ships. So, but I'm gonna have to jump on Dig Dak's site and jump on the other one, including that carrier. If you got that carrier, if you got a carrier, you got all of them.
Yeah, Dark Knight, you got a carrier right
through it. That's a sad point, man.
DK, you're muted. We're not hearing you, DK.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I must have hit mute by accident. No, I was
you got a carrier too, right? Don't you have a carrier?
Yeah, I got one. Dig, how do you feel about that price hike for those few minutes?
Yo, I read about it and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do
losing.
that.
I'm selling, right? Oh, man.
Okay, so on the video right now, you guys see that we did the walk around the ship. We're going to walk onto the elevators now. Now, there are some, even though the game, and please forgive me because I couldn't get together.
Is this your footage?
Yeah, this is my footage. I was going to get together with DK and Kelosal, but there were some problems with the servers yesterday. We didn't get a chance to hook up because I wanted to do this in a multiplayer mode. The game is multiplayer. That's the one thing I want to first of all tell you guys. So even though it's just me, we didn't have time to hook up. But there are some aspects about the game that don't work multiplayer. And this is not a shot at them. I just want you to understand, if you play the game, you might go in thinking you can do something and find out you can't. It's just because they just haven't gotten past those hurdles. I'm getting in the elevator right now. Is this basically a load screen?
It's a load screen. It's got to be a load screen.
It is, right? Okay.
It's a quick one though.
No, right.
I love the music in the elevator.
Right,
The elevator
but my
music.
point is, it's not a physicalized elevator. It's only one person can get in the elevator, if I'm not mistaken. So we can't get 5 people in the elevator. Everybody would have to take their own elevator, but everybody would arrive here at the on the deck at the station. This is a space station. It's not a base, and I didn't get to visit any other ones. Dig that. Are the layouts the same? Because I heard some complaints about people saying, I think the layouts are different, but they said that when you come back to a station, the people who are the mission givers are always in the same spaces. And I mean, that's in Star Citizen too. I'm just saying, is there any distinction in the different bases or space stations?
There's variations of a theme. Like there's, I mean, I don't know how many, but if I was to guess, I'd say there's probably about 5 to 8 layouts. Okay. But it's always the same thing. You have this particular story, you have the bar, you have the place where you give your plant DNA. Right. And so it's just variations of the thing, which, you know, I ain't mad at it, but I ain't gonna lie, it is like, oh man. Where is the
redundant?
I don't know. It is. You just want something a little bit more, and you can't sit down like that as you approach the seats right there. That's got like probably not even percent of the elite Star Citizen community probably don't even care to sit down. But I like that. That's part of my immersion.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. I didn't even can't sit down, and that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't even try an elite. Now that you say that, I just I saw it, but I didn't even attempt to see if I could sit down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What if you don't mind me chiming in, Griff? I mean, one thing that I do look for is, and I agree with Dick that I'm in the Soul sector right now, and I've been to almost every station in the Soul sector. There are some differences, but there are a lot of similarities. I do try to look at. My whole thing is about gameplay, right? I mean, you can get the crappiest visualized game and have great gameplay, and it's a great game. Mm-hmm. And I try to look for aspects of, is there any sense of gameplay other than going there and clicking E to go ahead and talk to those people, to those mission givers or what have you? Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of people, if you listen to them, they'll tell you the story and the background of the system. Yes, and that you're in.
These are background conversations, right? You're talking about
right. These are background conversations, right? And what could be out there and where to go and when and things like that. So I do like those little aspects. Elite Dangerous have done a wonderful job at implementing that throughout. Definitely in Odyssey, but they've done a wonderful job at doing something like that throughout Horizons and things like that. So I'm looking for that type of gameplay in Star Citizen, as whereas everything that you're being immersive with, can you hear conversations about people talking about the galaxy and about the lore?
I agree with that, man. Because I overheard somebody else's conversation, and then I wanted to turn around to get in. Like that'd be dope if they had those, and like you overhear something that might benefit you, and then you could talk to them, and then that might lead to a mission that you might not have been able to get unless you did that.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was impressed by a lot of things in the game. The ambience was nice in the station. Of course, there are no NPCs standing on chairs, which is always nice to see. The random conversations was good. Like Kelosal said, you'll hear these conversations of sometimes it's just general conversation, then other times they are talking about something. And you realize it's probably something you should be paying attention to. It's a way of dropping clues. The mission givers were interesting in the sense of that a lot of them kind of had the same kind of tone to their thing. I've got some mission to the side. Either it was a black market thing or a legal thing, basically. I think that
Captain No Pants said there's 17 themes, about 17 themes. Sorry, Griff.
No, that's okay. Good. What does he say?
No pants.
He said that they're about. He said he's been told that there are 17 themes for stations in ED.
Ah, okay.
A few more, but he's not far off.
Okay,
not at all.
Cool.
Yeah, regarding stations, actually, I kind of wanted to chime in on that real quick. There are 3. I kind of, and Dig, maybe you can agree with me on this one. There's only a select few styles of stations,
right.
And I'm wondering if they're using this, this pre-built fabrication type of thing for each of these different stations. Maybe that's their justification for different, for the Orbis only having one style and the Oculus having a different one. But you go to Oculus all the time, so maybe those are the only time you see that one station type.
Right.
It's just kind of things I was thinking about. But again, yeah, there's some differences between stations, but layouts for the most part, most large stations are pretty similar.
Okay. One of the other things I liked about their station is that the vibrancy of color. I always noticed that with Star Citizen. If you guys remember, if you were in the early days of Port Olisar, it was very bland, pale colors. Over the years, they've made those colors much more rich, and I'm sure that has something to do with the more colors and richness you have. There may be some issues of how it impacts performance, but in this you can see the colors are very vivid and rich. Now the trade-off for me is that you get spoiled with Star Citizen because so much of their animations are mocap based. And a lot of the animations in here I didn't feel were mocap based. You don't realize that you get used to that. Also the level of realism in the faces. Now, mind you, I'm not saying I want Elite to have that because Elite has a distinctive look to it, which I think is nice. I actually like the way theirs looks. It's not too cartoony, but it does have a different type of look to it. What I don't like, I'm still not comfortable with, and maybe it's because I've just gotten used to Star Citizen, is their navigation. The still having to but it's not intuitive, and maybe it's just because I'm not doing it enough. I'm sure if I do it enough, it'll flow a little bit better. But I had to do a lot of hotkeys, which normally I didn't feel like I would have to do. But
like for what type of stuff?
Like in Star Citizen, you can just use like if you want to use, you can just hit E almost for everything. In this, you've got to not only hit E, but then you've got an arrow left and right, arrow up and down, tab, to get to different ways to navigate around the like right now with the costuming, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not a struggle. I'm just saying the navigation for me just didn't feel as intuitive. That's all.
What does E do? I don't use that. What
E is like F for Star Citizen.
Exactly.
In little ways.
Yeah.
In little ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's an addition to it is Q button, which also does a different type of your right click in Star Citizen to bring up that little menu.
Exactly.
I use a controller when I'm walking around. So
I got you. Yeah.
I have a Taurus and a Tartarus, and then I use my in order to look around, or if you open up your screen and you're looking around at each icon, I use my hat top on my on my joystick. So that's how I'm able to do all that.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you guys a question real quick. I looked at the pricing for these like the weapons and the clothing. Are those prices reasonable or are they high? Because Dig, I remember when you did your alpha test, you were kind of hollering a little bit. And so I don't know if those like 125,000, is that cheap? Or is that
and you can buy a ship for 30,000?
Yeah, it is, and the reason why is, and I think the economy of Elite Dangerous is a little weird because you can make, like, people got billions of dollars.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't know who's
billions of dollars.
Yep.
Because that is cheap.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
The amount of money that these people have in game.
Okay. Then that explains it, because I know I work in this. They said this a suit is 125,000. That's 125,000. Are you serious? I'm paying 6,000 in Star Citizen for that suit. What you talking about? Okay, so that's what I want to make sure of.
That,
I gotta say that's got to be a huge. I'm sorry, Doctor. I may cut you off.
Oh no! I was just gonna say ships cost less than the weapons. In some cases.
Oh, yeah.
If there was one mission that was a level 3 mission that I would have earned 246,000 dollars in that game, and that one suit is like 100,000 or what have you. So you could have done several missions and still come out far cheaper paying for the suits with the number of missions that you had. So I thought it was an okay price range.
I think the economy is something that's got to be hard for both games to work on, because there's always going to be them billionaire boys. I mean, I got people who be like, "Hey, man, you want some money?" I'm like, in both games, or not both games. Well, actually, in both games, like, because it's different in Elite, or excuse me, Star Citizen. They can just give you money. In Elite, they're like, "All right, what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you all this product. Yo, man, you going to hook me with that product? So
I'll sell it on your fleet
carrier, man."
Right.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Okay.
And then actually, I want to add. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to add to that. Anybody gets a chance to watch part 3 and part 4 of that interview with Gary, they get into talking about the economies of each different game and how there's some similarities and some differences in the way that the economy works.
Okay.
Both are trying to achieve an economy very similar to each other.
Right.
Okay.
I just wish there was more stuff to buy, more reasons to have money in Elite.
Right. I mean, and that's gonna, if Elite can go ahead and tackle into that like ESO have done and World of Warcraft and other games have done with that same type of model, then I would find that ARC system a lot more relevant. The one thing that I do want to say about the differences between the two, and I said I was going to try to compare, but because of Elite's vast number of systems, this type of gameplay allows Elite to give missions almost virtually anywhere. Because when you go to these guys, they're not just giving you missions in that system. They're giving you missions maybe 3 or 4 systems away or things like that or what have you. And here we are with Star Citizen. We're still stuck in Stratton. So they're going to have to try to find a way to balance that over there at CIG and Star Citizen, because the more systems that they would have, the better number of gameplay they would be able to have utilizing the AI. Because, like I said, Elite Dangerous will take you anywhere and everywhere with those with that gameplay.
I wanted to stop here real quick. I was showing you. Some people asked the question of whether or not, when you looked out into the space station and you saw those ships coming in, whether those were real players, and vice versa. And the answer is yes. That is in real time, just like Star Citizen. It is not simulated. So they are moving in similar directions when it comes to having that level of immersion. I joked around earlier, Kelosal, and told them that after I watched several of the videos, I kept hearing the word immersion pop up on Elite, and they were using the word just as much as Star Citizen players were, that they want more immersion. This was when I went to the console for the missions and stuff, just to see what was going on with that. I'm gonna go ahead and skip past this. This is when I found out, when I was trying to buy stuff, and I thought my few $1,000,000 was enough, and then I found out I had to have ARCs. I was like, "Oh man!" I thought, "Oh, it's cool. They got all this stuff in the concession machine. I could buy it here." And I was like, "Well, I guess my money's no good." All right.
Yep.
So let me jump to this next video.
I'm going to throw one thing in there.
Sure.
And it's kind of echo on if Kelosal was talking about the economy and how, I got billions, but it's so cheap to buy this weapon. I think that's a fault of the game, and maybe a fault of the players of always wanting to have more money. So mining is more, making good money. Everybody gravitates to mining. And then they want to buff on, combat. Buff on combat. Combat gets to be a little bit more, but then everybody wants to go back to, nobody wants to do the combat because that's not my style, and I gotta, do something else. But it's been overinflated so much over the years that 10 million credits is half an hour's worth of work. Then I can go buy a ship, the big ship, It's way overinflated. It doesn't make the gameplay relevant anymore. So like doing a mission why even do a mission? I can go mine and make 100 million in the next hour. Why do a mission if I'm going to make only 2 million? It negates all of the gameplay that was actually put in place as now going towards meta. So, that's how you guys. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. It's such a weird balance, and I know it's a struggle for them too, man. Because there was a time where it was like, dude, the missions paid nothing.
Yeah, you'd be grind like crazy. Yeah, I remember that.
And then that opened up the mining, when they changed up the mining, which was dope. And I think their mining is killing it. Mm-hmm. But now, so you saying that we got too much money? Like we're I don't know how you balance it. I don't have the answers, but I got to say it's unbalanced. But not saying that as a insult. That is crazy to try and figure out. Like so what's the cutoff? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Because I don't want to get to a point in Star Citizen. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to get to a point in Star Citizen where we just like I've experienced having too much money and it kind of like reduced my wanting to play it. Mm-hmm. I can buy anything right now. You know.
See, that's why you have to have exploration put in the game. I spent 6 hours yesterday. 6 hours in the looting system, exploring each planet. Just scanning the planet. I mean, Elite Dangerous. Just scanning the planet. Okay. 6 hours because they had they had multiple planets. Yeah, I was on there from like 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all the way to like maybe somewhere 5 or 4. And that was when
first discoveries.
No, heck no. I do have some first discoveries, but that was way before the Thargoids came out. I went ahead and got one of my ships, and it's right around the time the Thargoids came out because I did go to deploy the system. And then that's when I have some. So there are some planets named after Kelosal, by the way. So look for it somewhere out there. I'll tell you later on. But yeah, I just I haven't been in a while because of Star Citizen. So I jumped in and out of Elite Dangerous. But prior to Star Citizen, or prior to me getting involved in Star Citizen a lot, I was always in Horizon, just in it big time. Mm-hmm. So they do have a big exploration system where you do garner points off of that, and you can sell the data, right? So it took me a long time just to scan one system. So that's the other part of getting around it. If you got a whole bunch of money, what do you do next? Go explore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dick, can you turn your speaker down just a little bit because it's echoing?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Okay. It's echoing through. No, those are all good points. We're gonna hit our last video now, and these guys will kind of help us walk through this. As I mentioned before, this was just me doing a quick walkthrough at the station, but now I'm going to show you the tutorial that they give us for playing Odyssey for the first time when you're on a base, and we can kind of talk along with this as things go. But the game basically drops you off at a location, and you're going to hear someone that's actually talking to you while you're doing the thing. So let's watch.
You're a short jog from the enemy settlement. Had to drop you far enough to avoid their defense systems. The terrain should keep your approach hidden, so you'll have the advantage. They'll be too busy tracking me anyway. I'll set an insight marker for you. Get moving. I'll coordinate from orbit.
Now, one of the things I heard some veteran players of Elite this point about, they felt that there were some differences in Horizons and Odyssey when it came to terrain. They said that there was way too much flat terrain in Odyssey. I don't know, because I haven't been on enough planets, but maybe you guys can talk about that.
Honestly, they needed it, man, because there were so many times I was frustrated with driving a little SRV around, and it was like goofy hills, just like roller coasters.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now this is edited, by the way, so you'll see me make jump cuts from time to time. This is approaching the base.
With the Planet Tech, I think they overdid it in alpha, and now they've pulled back some.
Because a lot of people said that the release version looks a little bit different than the alpha one did.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of issues there. There's a lot that needs to be fixed, and I'm sure they will. They'll fix it. Yeah. But there's a lot left to be done right now.
One thing I did like is that there's tools. We have all these various tools that we use in the game. Some of them are to cutting tools, energizing tools.
This darkness ain't helping my visuals. Want to switch the flashlight on for me?
It's so weird that we don't get the cutting tool till next year.
I know, right? I want to do that now.
You're in luck. Okay. There's a panel under the cabin you need to open with your arc cutter. That's where the power regulator is fitted. Right there. Carve that sucker open, soldier. We have a winner. Take the regulator. You've got a better use for it. That's it.
Now, this is another thing. There's no animations of the player, and you do get kind of used to that in Star Citizen, where you'd reach up and grab something. So just know that things will just disappear or appear when needed.
You don't need to worry about your suit battery running dry for a while.
Health kits. Don't shoot that red barrel.
Leaving pressurized environment.
Charge the port to the left of the airlock. Since you're inside the building, the airlock will open right up.
Energy transfer complete.
Lefty said emergency go on.
Across the yard. Look sharp. I guess there was a hard fight here once the defenders pulled the power regulator. No power means no data to steal.
Now, when Dig That and them, when you guys went in for the alpha, this wasn't even in there. They just dropped y'all in the fishbowl and y'all had to figure stuff out, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty cool, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I kind of like that because that allowed me the opportunity to make some videos.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to learn how to do all the stuff on foot. So you got to go figure it out, dude.
Right?
Find the engineers and the
Energy transfer
materials.
Yeah, I figured as much. There's an authorization check on this entrance. May as well use the energy link to overcharge the panel.
Overload in progress. Overload complete.
You'll piss people off doing that usually, but we're in a hurry. Get inside the building.
It was kind of nice having somebody talk to you in the game for once.
Mm-hmm. The regulator housing is open, so just slot the thing inside. I've marked the console on your insight. Of course, there's an authority check. Okay, you're gonna need security clearance from one of the nearby bodies. Feigning authority is another illegal move, but I'll make sure you're covered in the mission report. Equip your profile analyzer. Make sure you're in the profile cloning mode. Scan the bodies nearby. It's a grim job, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Exactly. I did the wrong body first.
Yeah, I knew which one to go to this time. It's my second time doing it.
Engage the power regulator using the reactor console. This will bring the settlement back online.
Now, like little things like this, where this is where it wasn't intuitive. I didn't know that E worked to activate everything. Sometimes it would come up as a menu, sometimes it didn't.
Power center initiation confirmed. Engaging power regulator.
Keep in mind that the people who attack this place will probably notice when the power comes back on. Stay close to you.
Power center online.
Entry restricted area.
Nice one. We're back in the game. Before you leave, there's a recharge socket on the wall. Top up your battery if you need to.
I did not know that was there.
I didn't know it either. I took a chance as to how to do it. I actually got it right.
Suit recharging. Suit fully charged.
Time to collect the mission data. Power's on, and your new authority level means easy access. Head back outside.
Leaving restricted area.
If the NOC data is still here, it'll be in the command center. I've set a marker. Power's on, and you've got the right authority level. The command center airlock will open right up. I'm picking up a ship signal at long range. Ask the raiders to keep the place warm for you. You're gonna want to put those fires out.
Cool to see that they got fires going and Star Citizen's still working on theirs.
Use the atmosphere very controlled to purge the building.
Yes.
Pressurized environment.
Purging atmosphere.
But those fires are also, they remain. They're not creeping or moving. So hopefully they'll make that happen later.
That did the trick.
They pulled it out due to performance issues right now.
Oh, really?
Fires, at least like from my understanding, I don't know if they put them back in recently, but they pulled out fire extinguishers and fires for a little bit.
Now this was cool too. The fact that you could depressurize and repressurize was good.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to take off your helmet in the game?
Only in emergencies.
Okay.
I mean, you keep them on in emergency. So when you go to your hello me, you can keep your helmet off, and then it puts it on when an emergency. So when your situation is like this, it automatically puts the helmet on.
Okay.
Right.
But you can't just literally take it off unless you're in stations and stuff. It takes it off automatically.
Okay.
Right. So no forgetting you putting your station or your helmet on when you walk out to the pad.
No, you can't just literally click, take off, tuck on, take off. You can't do that.
Well, I was curious because of that being able to pressurize and depressurize. If any of my friends were with me, you know, I'd have to make sure that I didn't know if that was something that was a concern. Somebody take their helmet off.
What you need.
Thanks, Zip Splat. That's what I meant to say. Stationary fire versus a splash fire.
The incoming ship belongs to the group that attacked this place. They'll be here soon.
I'll admit I did have some tension while this was going on. You know, I was kind of nervous about what was going to happen because I knew something was going to happen eventually.
The Odyssey data is still here. Download it to your drive while I swing around to pick
Build
you
up a little suspense for you.
Mm-hmm.
It does do that. It does do that.
Well, especially because he tells you that there's a ship inbound to the station, you know. So, and then you can see the ship as it's approaching, you know, so you know the clock is ticking at this point.
Transfer complete.
Until you get in those conflict zones, you'll have constant drops of troops coming down until you win.
You've got hostiles touching down. Now the power's back online, they've come to investigate. There's a few of them, but I bet they're not expecting a badass combat soldier with state-of-the-art gear. And we don't want anyone chasing us home. You are clear to engage. Switch your shield on and get moving. You don't want to chew through your battery before the shooting starts. Once all hostiles are taken out, I'll touch down at the settlement's landing pad. I'm counting 5 hostiles in the area. You should see.
And I didn't know about the personal shield the first time I did this. I survived it, but I didn't know that you had a shield.
Don't worry, I forgot about the shield button.
You gotta press the C button, I think. One of those buttons.
I'm like, why did this guy one-shot kill me? I don't know.
Now, when I first saw this, I watched Captain Richard. I thought it looked a little kind of animated or cartoony, but in game, it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel so bad.
It fits Elite Dangerous.
Yep.
First one down. Keep pressing them. Down. Watch your radar for the others.
There's ammo spot. You can load up with ammo.
Base looting, you guys can loot bases as well. As well as NPCs, you can loot them.
There's only one hostile left. Take your time.
I do like the idea of personal shields where you can't be taken out just so quickly. You know, I like the fact of knowing it gives you some form of protection. But after a certain point, you know you can still die. Where in Star Citizen, somebody can one-shot you and you're out of there.
Time to get that data.
This gives you an idea of scale here. Now, which ship is this? The one that lands? Is it a Mark 4, Mark whatever?
Yeah, looks like a Cobra Mark III.
A Cobra Mark III, rather.
Hard to tell when it's that far.
I tried to walk around it so you could get an idea of whatever it was.
Mark 4 doesn't look much different. I can't remember what the
Well, the Sidewinder's smaller, so that's why I figured it's got to be a Mark 4.
I'm going to be interested to hear your thoughts about Odyssey, Griff.
When we get to the end, I'll tell you. I'm just kind of taking it in here.
Come on, get in. There's a cold beer waiting.
Yeah, when I first saw that Cobra up close on foot, it was like, wait a second, this ship is really that big.
I can see why that's painful for players. You know, the stairs are right there, and you just wish you could just walk up those stairs. You know, I can understand why that's painful. You know,
Let's get out of here.
Sore button.
That's what I call a 5-star performance.
So-
The CO will be made up when they hear about this.
the reason why I'm doing this is that you guys can see that the pilot was animated. He was talking. His lips was moving.
We'll hit hyperspace in a second.
I did notice that there were some cases where people would be talking for a little bit, then all of a sudden the animations wouldn't work anymore. But I know that's just a bug, and they'll get through that.
Yeah. To me, when he was talking, that made me really want an Elite Dangerous version of Squadron 42.
That would be nice.
Yep.
That would be nice.
By the way, they still have one of the most beautiful quantum or hyperspace jumps Elite does. It's still gorgeous.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I mean, it's a loading screen, but it does look good.
Yep.
And I gotta say, the one thing that anyone that's not playing Elite misses out on is the sound design, and Elite is second to none.
Yeah, they've got great sound design.
Oh, it's incredible.
So again, I'm speeding through this a little bit. There's some jump cuts here. And you're going to see the whole process of landing and coming in. I want the people to see the scale of the base that's here. There's no way to go in and out of bases. Is that correct? Other than flying and landing in? Is that it for ones that are on planets? Can you walk indoors? Like I'm talking about like this city that they go to. They go to a city on the tutorial. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
As far as the city goes, it's not really a city as opposed to a city-sized base. And you get out of the ship, and you go into the station just like you would in any other.
Right.
Land site bases and things like that, you can park wherever you want and go in there.
Yeah. Right. Raymar, you're right. I mean, I know our quantum, we haven't gotten anywhere near it with the gates and everything yet. And even our quantum jumps are not completely there. I just love the fact that they've got some coloration in theirs and stuff. That's pretty nice.
A little tinge of green.
But it was nice to have the NPC flying you, which I thought was kind of cool.
All right, there's a starport.
I thought that was awesome, man. I was doing the same thing as you, just looking at the dude. I was like, oh, this is awesome, man. Somebody in here talking to me.
Yeah. Have y'all taken a taxi yet? Have y'all shuttled around?
I had a
much.
taxi.
Yeah. In the Alpha, they were complaining about those taxi rides. Those taxi rides are 15 minutes long.
I mean, unbelievable. That's immersion to me. I mean, look, enjoy the taxi ride. If you're going to spend a taxi, you might as well enjoy the view.
It would be cool if you could walk around your ship in a taxi.
Yeah.
Man, just sitting there not being able to do nothing. Makes 15 minutes seem like 50.
Is this a base we're looking at? Because those are big, tall buildings. I wasn't sure. Okay, it is a base.
Yes, it's a base. But in all honesty, Dick Dad, you can't even walk around in a real taxi. I mean, so.
You ain't never had some Hennessy and got in a taxi before, I'll tell you.
Oh, God. Oh my God.
Oh, good.
Okay. Sethius. Oh my God, Seth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you for the gift subs.
Thanks,
y'all make sure y'all say thanks to that Seth something's out there. You got 5 of them floating around.
Can we do it on 3? 1, 2, 3. Thanks,
you,
Seth.
No, thanks. We appreciate it, buddy. So that was basically, leaving from the base, doing this little short tutorial mission that gave you an idea of the different tools that you had to use, keybinds, a little bit of FPS, took place during that as well. And then, of course, you got to do this short flight back to the station to end your mission. So that's where we're going to wrap that up right there. You know, I just want to kind of come back and ask Dig That and Dark Knight this question. Did Odyssey meet your expectations? And I know that's a tough question because there's still more to come. But from what they've presented so far, because, you know, players have been waiting for a very long time for Lefty. Thank you for the subscription as well. Y'all make sure y'all say thank you, Uncle Lefty. Thanks,
Where there's water, there's rain.
Seth, yeah.
Thanks, Lefty.
Yeah, thank you. Let me start with you, Dark Knight. Expectations, you know, a lot of hype about it coming out. Did it meet the oh, here we go. Come on, you guys.
Hey, they're killing it. They're killing it.
Don't y'all start. Thank you, Cepheus. Thank you. These two, y'all don't know these two. They both got a drink. They got a drink in their hands, and they both doing it right now. So, all right. So, Dark Knight.
Every time I go out, I'm gonna hear James Brown. I'm like, oh man, I got some money. Wait, I ain't get nothing.
God,
Captain Wee Wee. Captain Wee Wee.
Face Captain.
Captain Wee Wee says, I'm not to be outdone. Okay, thank you guys. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Dark Knight, please answer the question before anything else happens. Did it meet your expectations?
Oh, that's a good question. In a way, yeah, but in a way, I'm
Giro.
Hey,
I think that's my guy, man. Hey, what up, Giro?
Thank you, man. Go ahead,
but I think they did, you know, in a way they did, but in a way I'm waiting for more to see what they're going to do. For, you know, did they give us space legs? Yes, they did. Okay, great. You know, they gave me atmospheric planets. Yes, they did.
Come on, guys. Seth put it down, cuz he putting it down.
Now, wait a minute. The last time Seth did this, we had to actually change the way our recognition thing goes because he did a 25 and we had to wait. Thank you, Kelosal.
How about that? I'm gonna give you one.
We'll give us one. That's cool. We'll take that one. But Cepheus did 25, and we had to wait for James Brown to sing and split 25 times before we could start talking.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Oh god! So guys, thank you. Okay, we really do appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Let's see. Oh, come on,
Captain Wee Wee in the building.
Nice. All right, Captain Wee Wee. Stop.
Why even say that? That's hilarious.
Thank you guys. Okay, I know it is funny to say the name. All right, so Dig, let me ask you a different question. What were the
wait? Did you get Dark's?
Yeah, response? I got his.
Okay. I was going to add to that was that gave me some of what I wanted. I want to see more, but I go according to David Braben's goals, and from that video saying 2012, he's getting there. I know he's getting there.
Okay,
but it's taking time, and I hope he finishes what he has started. I hope he accomplishes his dream.
Okay.
Ooh, I agree with that.
Fair. Okay, Dig, go ahead and toss in, Dig. What are you going to say? As far as the delivery.
First of all, I was just glad to have something to make me play Elite Dangerous again, because that's where I started my YouTube career. It was Elite Dangerous, and then I just got bored, man. But it was finally nice to have something different to do. But did it deliver? Yeah, I guess based on what the notes that they gave. But like, is it what I wanted? Nah, and I think a lot of people want to walk around their ships. I mean, there's a few people that still saying, well, you know, you would just walk around your ships for 5 minutes and then you'll never do it again. Nah, bro. Nah. I can say as a Star Citizen player, you will walk around your ships, man.
I walk around my ship. I'll sit there and stare at my bar at 600 for hours.
Yes. Seth is killing it, son.
Thank you for the 1,000 bits, Seth. Thank you.
Seth, we going to the bar, man. Let me see how many shots before you buy me a bottle.
He'll outdo you. Trust me, he'll outdo you. Trust me.
Yes, he is. Resident.
Challenge. Yeah. Colossal question for you now. You and I have both been away from Elite. We dip our feet in on occasion. Is what we've seen so far? You spent 6 hours in there the other day. Is this going to kind of make you start keeping a better eye on Elite and maybe even playing it a little bit more? You know, in conjunction, still keeping Star Citizen as a separate game. But would you look at going back? Like Dig said, it's giving them something to do. Do you feel like that will kind of help you or other players to maybe come back to Elite?
I mean, that's a very good question. And I mean, because of the fact that I love sci-fi games, I will always, be jumping around. Does it reach my expectation? There's still a lot more. Just like Dick that said, a lot of players are looking for actually seeing their players walking around the ship. They want to feel the size of the ship. They want to walk around. They want to be able to touch and feel it and be immersive in the game. And Elite Dangerous has not given that yet. So until they happen, all you're going to see is DLCs and people jumping back and forth, and people like me jumping back and forth in the game. So I look forward to what they have. They do have a 10-year plan. I think they're on year 8 or 7 or somewhere around there on that 10-year plan. So and they really haven't been as they have their YouTube channel where they have notifications and they tell people what's going on in that. So follow that if you're following Elite Dangerous. But there's still more to be desired. And Elite Dangerous is at least on the right path, and they've been trying to do a lot to reach out to the community. So,
can I give a quick quote from Chris Roberts? And this was from the last part of the interview. And one of the things, something just came up, but one of the things that Chris Roberts says is, I'm going to reach out to my community and say, go and back Elite. If I haven't taken all your money, please back Elite. And I think that would be cool too. That was something directly from Chris Roberts' mouth. So you can see that they're both very much into supporting each other with this game. And it's hard not to make, comparisons to the two, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that this game those two games are different in scope. And if you're one of those people going out there saying back Elite and not Star Citizen, or back Star Citizen and not Elite, I think you're selling the video game community short. Both games should be supported. They're both Braben and Chris Roberts are fantastic, and you'd be selling yourself short if you don't play at least both of them.
Yes,
Mito,
thank you, Sethius, for
this. Yo, Seth is killing it. Mito, what up, though?
2,000 bits. Thank you so much for that. Old Lefty,
jeez, man.
Well, that's good. He sent all those subscriptions out, then he realized, hey, I haven't subscribed. Let me subscribe. So thank you. Right. Thank you. All right, so now I got a serious question to ask you guys, and this is going to be the last one for the night. There was some controversy a week before the final launch for Odyssey, and it was when Frontier put out a message that said that Odyssey would be available in its completeness for people who purchased Odyssey. But for people who only had up to Horizons, they would not be able to receive some of the benefits that came with Odyssey. And that wasn't just the multiplayer aspect. It was also some of the graphical updates, some other things that they did to make Odyssey or makes Elite better. And basically, if you own Odyssey, if I want to play with Kelosal, who's my friend, he doesn't have Odyssey, he's got Horizons. I have to log out of Odyssey and log into Horizons to play with him. So part of the player base right now does not have access to Odyssey unless they do that upgrade. How is that received to you guys? And don't get me wrong, there are other games that are like that, right? If you don't upgrade, you don't get to the next part. But because multiplayer is such a big piece of this, how did the community, I'm saying Odyssey. I'm saying that was one of the big things that they sold, that you can walk, that you can walk and play with your friends now, right? Literally. I mean, it's multiplayer already, but I'm saying.
I mean, you can't walk.
Right, but you know what I mean, right? So my question is, you can answer this either way. Were you impacted, or how did you hear the community was impacted when that announcement came out, that there was kind of like this split in the community because of the way? Now, mind you, for console players, they can do both. But for PC, this is for PC players.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, console players don't have that problem. But the PC players do. What are your thoughts on that, with that announcement when it came out? And DK, I'll go to you first, and I'll go to Dig.
So, in one way, I can understand if it was just console and PC, because consoles take a little bit different work to get the game implemented as opposed to on the PC side. On the other side of it, I don't think that. I think this makes it more of a reason to call this a beta than a full release, because I think all of the systems should be in place for all groups to be able to get together, because it's a dynamic universe, just like it is in Star Citizen. So if everybody's in the same one and able to to participate in the same kind of activities in the same universe, then yeah. that's great. But right now it's fractured, and I see multiple kinds of problems with community goals, with with conflict zones and BGS and little things like that, where each one is now they're separate games. They're literally separate games right now. It's for me at this present moment, I really do see it as a beta until they get the final consoles and full PC Horizons, everybody put together.
Okay, Dig, your thoughts on it?
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Popping bottles, baby. All right, so nah, you know what? Like, it's weird because I agree with everything Dark Knight said, but then I'm of the mind of, well, if I'm going to buy this, there should be some kind of exclusive stuff, and like, which is weird because I'm usually not like that, but. Yo, man, I don't think that if I spend my, was it $40, $39.99? If I spend my $39.99, which they're probably gonna start taxing soon, I want exclusion. And if you are a serious Star Citizen player, you're gonna do it. If you're not a Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous player, and you just you're getting your feel for the first thing, that's a great place to start. Horizons,
right?
But man, if you wanna roll with the big dogs and you're serious, then you're gonna spend that money.
And speaking of spending money, if you there is a big sale. There's a sale 75% off the base game of Elite. That's Elite and Elite Horizons, because now both of them are rolled into one.
Yeah,
$7.
Yep.
What?
$7.
In fact,
so if you're not playing Elite, play it. Yeah,
in fact, what they did was when they first made the announcement that this was coming out, they made Horizons included free in it all. They made it included because it was a draw. It was an immediate draw to get people to come back to the game. So, and I agree with what you're saying in the sense of Dig, when you say, if you want to go to that next level of the game, right, you can get your feet wet in space, but if you want to be able to access all the other features, it moves to the next level. Now, I am curious to see whether or not what they're going to do to justify anything else. That's not DLC. I'm talking about like a major jump. I don't know if there's any next major jump that they could do similar to Odyssey, because we're outside of the vehicles now. We're able to move around.
True.
But they still got to generate. They still got to generate revenue. And I am kind of curious about how the community felt about, because PC came first, consoles came later, and then all of a sudden the consoles got the benefit of everything. But the PC people, they told y'all, we gotta wait till September. I think it's September. I think it's like September or something like that. They're saying that they'll be able to have it come out. I don't know. But
pay $5 just to exit the ship with the animation first, blacking out, find yourself outside the ship, because I do that in real life. All right, so I don't need to do that in my ships.
Yeah. Kelosal, I'll throw the last question at you in relation to Elite and Star Citizen. I know you've made it very clear, and I think everybody on the panel has tonight, that though there are similarities in the sense of the genre, similarities of both the visionary guys that are creating these games, and that they both have a desire to kind of create this, worlds that you can live into, step into. We've also said that the games are distinctive in that they're very different. And anybody who, I think, dig that, Dark Knight, you said it earlier, it's like Star Trek and Star Wars, right? If you're into space stuff, you can appreciate that there's two different things, but they're similar. Kelosal, what would you say to anybody who wants to step into either of these games? Because there is monetary spending for these. It's neither one of them is one where you pay once and that's it. I mean, we say that about Star Citizen all the time. Pay your $45 and that's it. But that's usually not where most people stay. And Elite is the same thing. If you buy the base Elite game, we just found out now, if you want to go to Odyssey, you got to drop a little bit more bucks. How would you encourage people to approach either one of these games?
Well, I mean, Star Citizen is still an alpha. And you don't have to use money to get in Star Citizen. You can get in right now. I think it's free because of certain events. So, I mean, just like we do with, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
Gladestone. Thank you,
Gladestone. I mean, just like we do with games that are out in alpha, they'll sit there and say, okay, this is an open alpha, it's a closed alpha, right? So if you want to participate, if you're interested in a game that's not even out yet, and you're talking about, well, I don't want to spend this and spend that, then participate, or you can take advantage of those certain sessions when the game becomes open. New World is a good example of that. And so in Elite Dangerous, in all honesty, it's completed. It's finished. They're just they have a plan. They have a 10-year plan with Horizons, and they're moving forward with whatever they got. They got a great storyline. So once again, you can go ahead and you're obviously going to have to purchase that in order to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
But don't expect for both of the games to give you. I would say expect the games to give you something different.
Mm-hmm.
Expect the games, just like Star Trek gave us something different than Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Expect the games to be something similar to that in terms of expectation. I think Chris Roberts is gearing towards a more immersive gameplay on ships.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to Elite Dangerous, we're talking about a more universal. I mean, look at the scope of Elite Dangerous and things like that. So the games are completely different right now. I would advise people to give both games a shot and just go ahead and enjoy the different types of gameplay for both games. And then you pick and choose which one you would like to play regularly. But just like we see streamers and things like that, they're not being ignorant of either game. They're playing both games and they're actually enjoying both.
Yeah.
So I found comfort in both games. I would jump to Elite Dangerous. I would jump to Star Citizen. I love and support Star Citizen, and I appreciate and support Elite Dangerous. They're great games.
Okay.
Get into both.
Cool. Well, you guys wanted to know what my two opinions of Elite Odyssey, where the progress is going. I think they're doing very well. I think that they are going to draw some people back, people who stepped away. Some of the things that I heard people say a lot of times so that they felt that there wasn't anything to do, like maybe they'd exhausted everything. And mind you, those were kind of the earlier players of the game. I think over the years with Horizons, engineers, they've added more stuff to make the game more intriguing. I was amazed when I went in. I almost felt overwhelmed when I saw how much stuff they've added to the game over the last few years. But I will say this, my closing thoughts on it is that both of these games are being developed by visionary game developers. David Braben and Chris Roberts, which is very different than many of the other games that we see that come out. And I remember something that Disco Lando said to us about, how he deliberately, part of his job is to make us very personalized with the people who are developing that game. And when I watched Elite's developer diaries, I kind of saw that same thing. It's like their devs are talking to you, and that's very different. But even more, we know who their CEOs are, and we also know their history. We know their struggles. Everybody joked around when this whole thing got kicked off, talking about how young both David Braben and Chris Roberts looked. And when you see them now, they both look like they've aged. Seriously. I don't think they've aged because of time passing. I think they've aged because Chris has gray hair. Yeah, I think they both have very stressful jobs. They both talked about their accountability to the communities that are funding these games. And they said talking to a CEO of a publishing house is nothing compared to what it is to talking to the community, because that's a much more direct contact. So I'm glad they're aware of that and appreciate the fact that they even mentioned that. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I love both games. I think they're great. I'm going to be getting back into Eve. Kelosal said this earlier. Dig that. You said this earlier. If you haven't played Elite in VR, you don't know what you're missing. It is amazing to be in VR in Elite. Amazing. Yes. If you've never been there, if you know somebody who's got it, trust me, it will blow your mind. You'll see the true potential of VR, but you also see, boy, it'll be great when they put that in Star Citizen too. So it'll be really kind of nice as well. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, before you end it, I don't know what I purchased. I was trying to do something so I could be on the little too. And I don't know I don't know how to give it. I don't know what I'm doing, sir.
They're just gifting subscriptions. Don't worry about it. They're just gifting subscriptions.
Which one did he pick?
I guess it's bits. Is that what it is? How do I give the bits?
Well, the bits chime, and the James Brown is a subscription. So whichever one you want.
Okay, so I bought it. So how do I give it?
It's already been given.
Yeah. What did you buy? What did you buy?
I think it's bits.
If you bought bits,
which one did he?
Oh, you go down to where the chat box is, down at the bottom where the little bits there. It's little bits thing. Oh, there you go. You just
Lefty gave you a sub. Nice.
You just want to hear James. You just want to hear James Brown. Ain't this a trip? Ain't this a trip?
So the year is 1960. I want to hear that.
Oh, my God. All right. Thank you, guys. You guys are so much Lefty, everybody, Gladestone, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Sethius, everybody who contributed tonight. Captain Wee Wee. Real quick, Dig That, tell people where people can find you at. We're going to raid Captain Richard, you guys, so stick around. It's his birthday today. He's having his birthday celebration. He's got a crown on his head. Y'all go over there and mess with that man. Yeah, Dig That, tell people where they can find you, buddy.
First of all, shout out to you, Vengeful.
Yep.
You can find me laying in your nearest gutter. I don't know, go to the downtown and look at the gutters. Dig That 32. I put that on the curb. It's right there next to me.
Oh, God. Y'all make sure, listen, y'all check out Dig That 32. Y'all know he makes some of the best instructional videos. He has these great 1 minute videos. He is always up to date with the latest things that are going on in Star Citizen. So you all check out his YouTube channel. Very well, highly well produced stuff. I'm always just jealous and amazed at the quality of the stuff that he puts out. Plus that great voice of his is on there. Dark Knight 75, where can people find you?
Yes, well, other than finding me here at Soul Citizens, you can find me. I do videos from time to time, very rare, on my channel, Dark Knight 75. It's just a kind of labor of love, and then also you can. Where else can you find me? I'm on Twitter and a few other places under Dark Knight 75, same place, but it's rare that I post.
Okay, all right, cool.
But
Kelosal, I forgot that you were on the other screen because you got here late, so I don't want to leave you out, man. Where can people find you at, buddy?
Yeah, I got here late. We had real life situations, being on the board when they called. We had an emergency meeting, and boom, 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 we had to go ahead and show up. But you can find me on here. School in Florida, at least where I'm in this is the last week for school, so the parents can finally take back their kids on Friday. But so I'm counting down. So I'll pretty much be resting pretty much on here, doing a lot more Soul Citizens throughout these next several months while we're on break. But you can find me there. You can find me in the verse if you want to send me a friend. If you ever see me in the verse, send a friend invitation, and I'll gladly accept, and we can hang out.
Awesome.
Same here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, real quick, can I throw a shout out?
I want to throw a shout out quick because I got some more stuff. Go ahead.
Galactic Enterprises, it's our org.
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah,
I want to give a shout to Fist and Pops of New Soul. They have some amazing Star Citizen content, videos and music. If you get a chance to check them out at the Galactic Enterprises YouTube page, Fist and Pops, New Soul. I'm telling y'all, check them out.
Absolutely. And you guys know that we're using them as our intro music now for the show. So that 5-minute song you hear at the beginning of the show.
They are awesome.
They got
Can you play that again or no?
No. No, we're gonna have you watch the video because you need to go dig. You haven't seen the video that goes along with it. It'll blow your mind. It is really, really good. And by that video was recognized on. We mentioned this last week on the RSI website. We're really proud of the work that they did. Spitfire Phoenix, thank you for the 100 bits. Dig, thank you. 1,500 bits. Dig, thank you, man. Man, we love you. Thank you guys so much. Vengeful, thank you for your 6-month subscription. Vengeful always hangs out with us. All right, gang, we're going to get ready to close this out. Next week, we are going to be doing our show on Invictus. We're going to be doing a wrap-up of Invictus next Sunday, so you guys be sure to come hang out with us. Enjoy Invictus. Watch your wallets. Keep your credit cards. Hide them. Give them to your wife. Whatever you got to do.
Hide your wife. Hide your kids.
Hide your wife. Hide your kids. And we will see you guys on next Sunday, hopefully, or we'll see you guys in the verse. As always, peace, love, and soul. Don't forget, give Captain Richard a big happy birthday. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves.
Peace.
Fly
See you
dirty.
guys later. Peace out.